The area
Hi,
by
everybody.
my work.
There's I-haul boxes is just pulled up.
I-haul boxes. Hello, all.
Hi, Eduardo. Well, Jeff.
Yeah, I do too.
Jeff's having a big storm there. We just heard a major clap of thunder. Holy
But
man.
I think it's gone. Let me look at the radar. Let me look at that radar thing.
Oh, we're doing that accent thing again.
Yeah, we are. Looks like all the red has passed, but there's still some orangey and maybe some reddish tones still coming. So may not be finished yet. But I was telling my crew that right before we got online here on the Starship, the StreamYard. What the hell is this thing? What is this thing we're using?
I don't know. Just keep going.
The lights, the power went off here a couple of times, so I got flashing microwave.
I think it was Hillel fooling around with the switches.
It could be. Yeah.
Is that San Luis Obispo? Is that picture from?
Yeah, this is up the street from my office.
Wow. So did they have to evacuate their office or what?
They didn't have to evacuate the office, but there was a what do you call it? Emergency stay-at-home order or something.
Oh yeah.
So the people who weren't already in the office when that went out, like mid-morning, I think that was Monday or Tuesday.
Right.
Didn't come in. Apparently driving was pretty treacherous everywhere. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is.
Is it over now, or are there more rivers coming? Are there more?
The river keep.
I think it's raining. I think it's going to start raining again this weekend.
Oh, wow.
So.
They got a brief respite.
Yeah. I gather the snow levels, the snow amounts up in the Sierras are just incredible.
Excuse me.
So, Jeff, did you want to check out the intro there? Just see how.
I do want to check out that damn there.
Okay.
Intro.
All right.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG.
Sounds good.
It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode.
Yeah. It's a good one, Roger.
Hey, Nixie.
Yep.
Are you seeing Tim Van Ram's comment?
Yeah, I was going to tell him as soon as I got on, when Liz said, "Oh, there's Tim Van Ram," I was like, I owe him an email. So I'm actually writing it right now.
Wow, he's multitasking.
You'll get it here in the next, I don't know, 5 minutes.
You'll get it.
You'll be getting it. Just get.
I've just noticed that my Timothy Taylor says championship beer. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it has the date 1858. And I said, it's a long time since it won a championship.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're proud of it. They're very proud. They haven't forgotten.
It's kind of like when Harvard says that they used to win football championships. And it's like, well, yeah, but
when there were three
does
or
it
four
really
teams,
count when it was in the 1800s?
Yeah, we're only a handful of teams.
All you do is churn out lawyers. How sad is that?
Politicians.
Oh, yeah.
Economists.
Well, is Els Piloto with us on the live
I
stream?
have not seen
I don't know
Els.
what is going on with that because
You think it's something to do with the email situation that you thought you had?
I don't think so. I'm checking all the emails and none of them have anything.
I'm getting the feedback now, which is great.
No, I got and I think I have pretty much it all straightened out.
Good.
That just means I have to
I was happy when you straightened that out. That made me very
I'll bet you were.
That's what she said.
Yeah, right. Ooh, that's a lot.
You don't be so juvenile, Jeff. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying what you guys are all thinking.
No.
But I don't think
I didn't take your overlays out last week. I can do that now, Nick.
I don't think anybody really cares, and I know one thing.
Jingles doesn't care
Either.
You love that ass.
I do.
Definitely, I think we need to get a sponsorship.
Well, I've had people offer them.
I know.
And I keep saying no. Yeah, I'm not even going to mention that one.
No,
that
don't go there.
Cross promotion. I'm thinking,
horrible.
Are you kidding me?
No.
That piece of junk.
Yeah, it really is. It's offensive, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't give them any exposure, as it were.
Nope.
What was
Nope.
it? Airbus?
No, it was a
Yeah,
so-called
Airbus.
podcast.
It's one of them so-called aviation pods.
Yeah. Pretty sad.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, it's.
All right, are we
Really-
getting ready to roll?
I guess so. Let me look here. I need to make
Mr.
sure.
Enthusiastic.
I guess so.
Nick's getting ready.
Um,
Hi, Tony
Steph's
Smith.
nearly home yet?
Well, she said 20 minutes about 5 minutes ago. Maybe so. I would say
okay.
15 minutes. Hi, Neil. Super Fred Driver. Hi, Super Fred Driver.
Super Fred Driver.
Yeah.
He is our
Speaking-
our hero from Oshkosh 2019.
Has anybody talked to Fred on the West Coast lately? Speaking of West Coast,
No,
and
where
race-
has he
from
been?
him for
I
a
don't know.
while.
He's been very low key. I was
Well,
thinking,
as the Ukrainian, the war in
Oh,
Ukraine.
that could be keeping him busy.
oh, that's
yes.
true. He's probably over there. Yeah. No, but I was thinking of all you guys on the West Coast, and the storms and stuff, and I thought, Fred, wonder what's going on with him.
True.
He's all right. He's sitting on the top of a hill, so he's probably
Yeah.
okay, isn't he?
How about? Yeah, he's okay as far as flooding is concerned. What about Hamish? Haven't heard from Hamish in a while.
Yeah, he's dropped off the
Must have been something you
off
guys
the
said.
party line. Ever since he had that skiing accident. Remember he had that skiing accident?
I finally bumped some sense in him.
Made a
I go,
drop
what the
in.
heck would I be watching this or listening to this for? A bunch of idiots. Okay, so I'm going to put Steph's stuff in here just in case she makes it like really, really soon.
Yeah, you'll be
And
ready.
We got Nick, and we got
like
Air
it.
Capital, Nixie Camacho, and from her studio in Toronto.
Here I am.
Here
That's
you
where
are.
I am. In a foggy and drizzly Toronto.
Mm.
Doesn't feel like January, that's for sure.
Was it? What isn't? Isn't it usually foggy and drizzly? Oh, I just saw another
It's
light.
usually snowy and icy, and
Oh, that's true. Yeah, usually it's the.
I haven't heard anything from Bigfoot in a while. Hope he's okay.
Valid point.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay.
Speaking of low key, yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Let me do this, and so we're all set, huh? Well, let me get the recorder started. We always forget to do
Oh
that.
yeah. You boys knew it.
Until we
Traditional.
remember.
That's right.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually forgotten it and done a show and not recorded it?
Yeah. I've
Oh boy.
like thought of it like 15, 20 minutes in, sometimes a half an hour into it.
Was that
sometimes more.
pre-StreamYard days?
Yeah, but it was still being recorded on YouTube.
Okay.
And so
You
I
still
could
had some
get the-
backup.
Still had some audio. It's not great, but
Thank goodness.
is my signal okay?
Yeah. So far.
Okay, no glitches because I'm on the hotspot.
No, at the
All
moment.
right, you're sounding
Okay.
good today.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Let's not jinx it.
Oh, did you find the show number, Liz?
Did I find the show? No, I don't think I did. I don't think I looked actually, but
Oh, well, there you go. I'll stop putting it in then.
oh, stop that.
You're just not appreciated anymore.
No, I'm not.
Do you know what? I was thinking the other day of how much stuff Nick does for our show. Yeah. No, you do. You actually are
Yeah.
someone. I mean, let's face it. You and I are retired, so we've got the time. But still, you do way more, I think, than I do. You review all the stuff. You prepare for the show. You do the cover art. You do plain tales. I think it's pretty amazing.
I
Yeah,
It does.
I agree.
No,
I don't
she's
know what
right.
to
She
say.
is right. He puts in a
Yeah,
heck of a
but-
lot of work.
He does.
not as much as you two, because Christ
That's not
Almighty,
true. I don't
the
believe that's true. But yours is creative, and I mean,
Wow.
I just do the bits I enjoy, and that's ideal, isn't it?
well, that's good.
Because
That's
then it's not
that's
like
what
work.
retirement's all about. Just doing stuff you enjoy.
Absolutely.
I love to do the bits I enjoy.
Doesn't that sound like a
Mhm.
good thing, Jeff? Just doing stuff
Yes,
you enjoy.
it does sound like a good thing, Liz.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should we do this first, though?
I don't know what this is, but
My camera's broken.
No, that's not it.
That was pretty good.
I love that.
for semen.
Where is really?
Well,
Okay.
Nick's quotation there that he's.
Yeah, I know. That's one.
No, I prefer Siemens.
That's the.
Mhm.
There you go.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, the girls. Looked at theirs lately.
Well, where is your disclaimer? I don't know why I can't find that.
I have a disclaimer. Oh, that's nice.
Not yours.
Oh, okay.
Liz's disclaimer.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, don't pay any attention to me.
Yeah.
That one.
but-
Yeah. They don't. Need
Well, you know what? It only really
Oh.
applies to people that are listening to the audio anyway.
Oh, Neil.
Because the people that are here, the cool kids on the block that are watching the live, that are on
Uh-huh.
the YouTube video, they understand what's going on.
They do. They have it. They're plugged
Yep.
in.
That's true.
Yep.
I don't
Okay.
know what they're plugged into, but
No, I know. Okay.
I don't know. Drugs.
Are you ready?
yeah, that's it.
Are we
Let's
going?
go.
It must be.
Yep.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 552.
It's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello.
Did
Oh.
that just go?
Yes,
"Ah,
it did. Yeah, it did.
It
Why
was
did they do
Steph's
that?"
fault. It was Steph's fault.
I did it.
You think?
It's Steph.
Hi.
Why did you do that, Steph? You ruined it.
Because that's what I'm here for. Sure, things. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
Oh, just like in the middle of Radio
Little of
Rogers'
a little
intro, it's just kind of
glitch.
like a little glitch. A little glitchy.
Hiccup.
Actually, I'm glad that happened because I was not paying attention. I didn't see that Steph was there. So.
No, I just
I'm
came in.
glad Steph's here.
Nice.
It literally happened like the moment she came in. It could have been her fault.
It was probably my fault.
I think it is. Actually, we're going to blame you. Sorry, I hope you don't take offense.
I don't.
I didn't think you would.
Not even a little bit.
Actually.
Are we ready to go now again?
I don't know. Everybody ready? Okay, let's go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 552.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 12th of January, 2023.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, the FAA grounds all flights for several hours because a software glitch shut down the NOTAM system. Passengers crouch as gunfire strikes an Aeromexico plane during takeoff. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 552 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM in New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me from her lakeside studio in the South, she's a doctor, skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument-rated backstabbing jumper dumper, Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. I feel like it's been a while. It's good to see you.
It has been. I was thinking the same thing when I was saying all that. I thought, wow, it's been a while.
You haven't had to blurt out that mouthful in a while.
No.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Well, glad to have you with us, Steph, at the beginning of the show.
Good to be here.
Awesome. All right. And also with us From his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAF RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Good evening from the United Kingdom, Jeffrey, and the rest of the crew. What a lovely evening we're having.
Well, that's speak for yourself. And also joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nixie Camacho.
Hey guys, glad to be back. It feels like it's been a while for me too. I'm not sure if it actually has or not, but kind of feels like it.
Yeah, you're kind of off and on, but it hasn't been too long, I don't believe. Anyway, and finally, last but not least, from our studio in Toronto, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. This is so great. Now we just have to find that Rick guy. Where the
Who?
heck's...
Who?
Yeah, Rick
He's
guy.
lost.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
Has
so
anybody
happy.
seen Rick?
No.
Something
no.
about he
No.
should have taken a right at Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Or a left. I don't know.
Dang it.
Very good.
Anyway,
He's never
I
been
can-
good with directions
Or time
or
zones.
time zones.
I can breathe easy now that Steph is here to look after you three reprobates. So have a good show.
I
Wow.
didn't know I was going to be put in charge of so much responsibility so quickly again. Oh,
Yes, you are.
Thanks,
Reprobates we are. Here we go.
What's a reprobate?
It's not good. Look it up.
Stand by for news.
Okay. We had to start off with this. Radio Roger teased it in our intro. Yesterday, actually, the day before yesterday in the evening, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, suffered a computer outage that forced it to halt departures nationwide while it scrambled to resolve the issue. The FAA said that crippling delays that affected thousands of flights appears to have been caused by a problem in the Notice to Airmen system, or NOTAM. I know I'm not being up to date with that, which sends pilots vital information they need to fly. A corrupted file supposedly affected both the primary and backup systems. Same file? Affected both primary and backup systems. Okay. A senior government official said Wednesday evening, adding that officials continue to investigate. Here's the quote. The FAA is continuing a thorough review to determine the root cause of the Notice to Air Missions system outage, the agency said in a statement. Our preliminary work has traced the outage to a damaged database file. At this time, there is no evidence of a cyber attack. Anyway, so that, as I mentioned, Tuesday night, about 8:30 Eastern is when the system supposedly went down. And then Wednesday morning, they decided to do a nationwide ground stop. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, in my opinion. And they got things going about 9 a.m. Eastern time. And you might ask, Jeff, were you caught up in this fiasco?
I was gonna say, is your
think we were all
feelings
gonna-
about this situation
Related
colored
to
by anything?
personal experience
So-
with this issue.
Well, I mean, even if I weren't caught up in this, I'd still have very strong feelings about this whole thing. So yeah, I was on a trip. I was in Omaha, and before we picked up at the hotel at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was actually kind of a late pickup for me. Some of the flight attendants were, like on their phones, and they're, tapping into people that are, saying something about ground stops and FAA and NOTAM and what's going on here? And we're, Brent and I are looking at each other like, have you seen anything on your app that says we're delayed or canceled or anything? And he said, no. And it sounded like American Airlines was the one that was being mostly affected. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it's just some kind of an integration with the FAA NOTAM system and their airline, because airlines have a way to kind of funnel this information from the FAA database and into their own systems. And by the way, I guess we should mention that the NOTAM system is basically a system, a database of information. Now, I've been learning all kinds of interesting things on local, or not local, but national mainstream media news coverage here in the U.S. Apparently, this is
Correct
like a system
things
that
or
no,
oh
no,
okay.
not at all. Talking about, warns us of weather hazards, and while we're en route, got to have it, we're connected constantly, and let's see, what's some other
It's probably directly responsible for the actual control of aircraft.
I think so.
I mean, without that input,
that's why they grounded the
planes
entire
cannot
system.
fly.
That's why they grounded the NAS, because it's dangerous. No, I personally think the reason why they grounded everybody was because of lawyers.
I think you're exactly right, Jeff.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're
terrified of litigation,
if you're tooling around out there, 7 miles from the airport, and you hit an unlit tower that's 420 feet tall, then the lawyer, you're definitely have to deal with some lawyers because you didn't see that NOTAM.
Yeah, and I would be really worried about your sanity if you were 7 miles from touchdown at 426 feet.
Yes.
That's why I made those numbers up.
I know. We had fun with that. Thank you for showing us that NOTAM.
You're welcome.
I'd have had a lot more sympathy with them if a NOTAM was in the most fantastic, multicolored, interactive format. You could imagine making it really simple to look at, to read, to filter, and to get the irrelevant information. But NOTAMs are written in about the most basic text you could possibly imagine. It's pre-ASCII. It is all capitals, and that's all it is, just text. There's nothing fancy at all. So I'm just wondering how the devil you end up with a corrupt file that can bring down your primary and your backup distribution system.
I think the files were just old. They just
terrifies me.
Refused to work.
If you're
anymore.
watching the video, you're seeing the NOTAMs for the flight that I actually flew yesterday morning. And guess what? These NOTAMs were there in my flight plan before I even left the hotel. And
look at all those closed taxiways or taxiway things.
Look at this. Look at this. We just keep scrolling and scrolling. And this is a domestic flight on a small airplane on a relatively short flight segment, like 1 hour and 50 minutes or something ridiculous. And can you imagine NOTAMs for long haul flights? What Captain Nick and Miami Rick have to go through to, as Nick mentioned here, look at this. It's all capitals. It's a lot of abbreviations that a lot of times we just kind of look at and go, do you know what that means? No. Do you know what that means? No. And
some countries make them up as they go along, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah. That's part of the fun of it, I think, for them. Hey, I'm going to use this acronym, and we'll see, what kind of response we get from these people.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to ask the former chairman, Robert Sumalt. He's here, by the way, with Hillel.
Is he with Hillel?
I'm very interested in his opinion on NOTAMs.
Hey, Mr. Chairman Sumalt, what do you think about NOTAMs?
That's what NOTAMs are. They're just a bunch of garbage that nobody pays any attention to.
Okay, there you go.
Fair enough.
Longtime chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board. That was a recording of the hearing of the Air Canada Flight 781 that was coming into San Francisco very late and almost landed on a taxiway because of a runway closure that was listed in this long multi-page document or pages of NOTAMs that, and they didn't pick that up. They didn't. It wasn't written in Canadian, Liz says. Okay. I didn't consider that. Mm-hmm. Hey, the runway's closed, eh? Hoser. All right. They would have seen that, I think. Anyway, we got to the airport, and then all of a sudden it started becoming clear that, at first we walked up to the gate, and I asked the gate agents, I said, is there anything going on that's going to affect our on-time departure? And they just looked at me like they didn't know what I was talking about. And she said, no, I don't think so. And I went, all right, let's go down there, get the airplane ready to go, and we can start boarding. And then we looked at the message on our ACAR screen from my dispatcher that said, ground stopped nationwide. Update time, and like about 2 hours from that point. And I went, okay, that's not good. But we managed to get it going before most of the other flights in Omaha because they decided to start allowing flights into Atlanta and Newark for some reason. Those two airports, they decided to start allowing flight operations. And I guess they started doing it, airport to airport basis. And then finally, which was kind of nice because when we took off, what's that? Oh no. Okay. Something going on with my, okay, hang on. Let me get here. Okay. Clicking on the frequency and dogs barking. Well, there's no dog here. Okay.
The dogs were me, but I'm hearing clicking.
Oh, darn. I hate the clicking.
I'm just wondering if I'm the only one who's hearing it.
No.
I'm hearing it.
Okay. Is it bad clicking?
Not good clicking.
It got kind of pronounced there during that last little monologue you were given.
Soliloquy.
Having said that, it's now stopped.
Obviously, the people at StreamYard don't appreciate my stance, my views on the NOTAM
On
system.
NOTAMs.
Okay.
Funny enough, it seemed to start when you played the NTSB chairman.
Ah. It might be the NTSB then. Their fault.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the FAA, they're after me. I did say that I've been considering retiring early, and maybe they're not going to give me the option. We're going to help you with that, Jeff. You keep talking like that, and you're out of here. Okay. So
it's
what do
the
you
same
think?
noise we heard the last 2 or 3 times I was on, and I feel like each time you ask me to describe it, and I struggle to describe it. So I really
know
just
what you're
need to
talking
record
about. I
it.
know what you're talking about. I've heard it too.
Okay.
And usually I hear it from Nick, and sometimes from me, and it's only on the video. It's not on any of the audio that I hear.
I was just going to say, I don't recall us solving it the last time it happened.
No,
it just
Sounds
comes
like
and
a-
goes, and we ignored it.
Video StreamYard software audio processing issue.
I think you're right, Steph.
It's my technical assessment. Professional opinion.
I'm wondering if I go from 1080 to 720, if that would help things.
I don't think so.
With the audio?
No, with the video. I'm going to go to 720. Okay. And see if that might help. Maybe it's just 1080 is just pushing it too hard.
Well, it just
How's the
started
weather there,
Pouring
Steph?
rain here.
Yeah.
No, look behind me. It's raining really hard.
I know. It's
I
really
see that.
raining there.
Yeah.
Very wet. Okay. Well, all right. I don't
But
know.
it's like 73 degrees outside, so
Is the rain even getting to the ground, or is it evaporating before it gets there?
well, it's Fahrenheit, so it's still reaching the
Oh.
ground. Not,
Right. Not turning into steam.
no.
Okay, let's continue then. So we were able to get the airplane pushed back from the gate and on the way to Atlanta. And one of the nice things is that because there were very few flights operating at the time, it was very quiet on the frequency. It was very relaxing.
Did you get nice direct routing too?
We did. We almost immediately when we started talking with Center, they said cleared direct newbie, which is one of the fixes on our RNAV arrival in Atlanta, and we never get that. So we just went okay. Okay, so I noticed. I don't know if you can hear the thunder, but it's really thundering behind me, or outside, I guess. I was monitoring some other communication from some other folk, some other Acme folk, And they said that they had diverted to Louisville and a couple other diversion places. And I'm thinking, what? So obviously they were airborne before the ground stop. That was one of the early 5:30, 6 o'clock departures that we have. And I thought, well, why? And they said, well, because all those flights in Atlanta that have been affected by this ground stop are occupying gates. Guess what? There's no gate available. Now, this is the first time that I can recall that Acme has done this. Usually what happens is we land and then we find a place, and the Atlanta airport's a huge place, and there's usually a spot to put us.
You could just stop using a runway and park all the airplanes on a runway.
They've done that before. Usually the south runway and the taxiways that are going out to it are just lined up with airplanes and that sort of thing.
Bus everyone to the terminal.
Exactly. But, or no, they wouldn't do that, Nick. They keep everybody on the airplane for hours until
for 2 hours and 58 minutes, and then we'll.
No.
So anyway, they decided to, I guess, divert people to different airports. But luckily, I guess they finally had released the ground stop, and by the time, we kept checking all the way from Omaha to Atlanta. Just kept checking to make sure our gate was going to be available. It changed a few times. But that was our go home leg, yes, and we got a gate, and we pushed back about 40-something minutes, 45 minutes late, or almost 50 minutes late, and we arrived in Atlanta at our gate about 28 minutes late. So I think we did a pretty good job of getting the folks to ATL pretty darn quickly. Because then I was on the radio. I was driving home and I heard on the radio, and then here at the apartment and watching on TV how like all these, thousands and thousands of flights were delayed or canceled. I'm thinking, I guess we kind of really lucked out.
Yeah, and your passengers were so grateful they had a whip round and bought you a big steak dinner.
No. They did not. Yeah. They did not.
They were probably still panicking about their connection time, even though none of the other flights were probably going anywhere.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Nobody really they seemed relatively okay with the whole thing. They didn't seem too upset. And I'm sure that's what they found stuff. They probably got to their next gate and, had to wait a while before, their next flight departed or started boarding. So again, so you kind of detected maybe, dear listeners, a little taste or a little wee bit of sarcasm from me regarding how hazardous it would have been to operate with this NOTAM system down. It's just not that big of a deal. But again, as we mentioned, litigation, the threat of that. If something had gone wrong, I guarantee the FAA would have had to, spend time with lawyers defending their actions and everything else. So they probably just decided, we're just going to shut everything down. So now I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but Canada, NAV Canada, says it doesn't believe disruption is related to the U.S. system outage. Now remember, we just said that the FAA blamed this on a, what did they call it? A corrupted file in their database. Well, here's the article from CBC News. The computer system that alerts airlines and pilots flying in Canadian airspace to potential hazards experienced a brief disruption on Wednesday. The system, called the Notice to Air Missions System, is operated by NAV Canada, a private nonprofit that owns and operates Canada's air traffic control system. They began experiencing problems with the NOTAM entry system on Wednesday morning that left it unable to send new updates to airlines. No flights were delayed as a result, said NAV Canada, and the system came back online in the early afternoon. We continue to monitor our systems and investigate the cause. Late Wednesday evening, NAV Canada said it believed the issue was caused by a computer hardware failure. The agency ruled out the possibility that it was caused by a cyber attack. So I don't know. Coincidence? The same sort of thing?
Yeah, it does sound very similar, doesn't it?
I think there's something deeper going on here.
Do you think there's a NOTAM, like a North American NOTAM conspiracy happening?
Might be. I don't know.
The truth is out
what
there.
are the chances that two major aviation system, NOTAM system, they didn't mention anything about them being tied together in some way. They're not, apparently not. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, hopefully we'll find out more.
Think of all the birds that were put at risk because the airlines no longer knew that
There were
the
birds
possibility
in the
existed
vicinity
that there were birds in the air
of the
near an
airport.
airport.
I know. Now you should also we should also mention that's a good point, because he's talking about automatic terminal information service, or ATIS, where you listen to or get the digital data on your ACARS device in your airplane, or you listen to the frequency and you listen to the recording, and if there are any significant things that affect safety or hazards, they talk about it there. So it wasn't like, just because you don't have it written down on a piece of paper doesn't necessarily mean that you're just hanging it out there and you're, being dangerous and hazardous out there. I mean, if there's a runway closure, or an instrument landing system glide slope out of service, or instrument landing system completely down, or whatever, runway closures, taxiway closures, they're going to say that on the ATIS broadcast. And so, yeah, that's why I kind of thought, this is a little bit of an reaction, I believe. So anyway, I got home safely, ended the trip, and I'll tell you more about the trip once we do the getting to know us. If we ever get there, that was just our first news item. So I guess we better get going on the next item, unless anybody has anything to add about the great NOTAM crisis of 2023. Okay. Nope. Next one is this. I'm going to play a video, and here we go. Is it playing? It says it is. The little thing is moving, but it's not doing anything on the screen. Huh. Okay. Let me remove that and add it again. Okay, it's not working. I blame this on Captain Nick.
I concur.
I'm blaming it on the NOTAMs.
It could be a corrupted file in the database.
Yeah,
you're right. Let me try it again. Re-upload this, and boom. It better be. You're right. This video from The Guardian without permission.
Están cargando el avión de la Fuerza Aérea que acaba de llegar.
Steph, can you translate?
No.
No. Okay. So that's a motor. Let's see. After they captured the son of El Chapo Guzman, there are protests and attacks in this Mexican city. Here's a police or military airplane that they're shooting at. The cartels are. Passengers appear to duck down inside another airplane. Aeromexico flight. Jet was hit by a bullet in its fuselage. There were no injuries, the airline Aeromexico said. Footage shared by local news reporters appears to show a disturbance inside a terminal. Yeah, people hiding behind things. All major roads into the city were blocked with burning vehicles. Culhuacan is the capital city of Sinaloa. Culhuacan. Thank you, Steph. A little unrest going on there. One of the major. Yeah, you're right, Liz. Apparently they weren't paying attention to the title of our last episode. Stop shooting at the planes. Yeah, so the drug cartels in Mexico are kind of a big deal. They basically run pretty much everything. And one of the big drug lords has been in prison for a while, and they just, when all this happened, or right before all this happened that we just watched, captured the son of this big drug lord, and they're not happy at all about it. But anyway, the interesting part of the aviation-related thing is a passenger flight, Aeromexico, taxiing out for takeoff, and they got hit by some of the gunfire, which is not good.
Not good.
They're going to get pretty good at fixing all these bullet holes. I mean,
They
all the
are,
major
right.
manufacturers are going to have, we're going to make a special bullet hole fix.
Patch.
Like the thing
I'm
with
some
rubber
speed tape would
rafts
be
and
fine
stuff.
for it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, the speed tape or duct tape or those little kits that you get with your rubber raft that plugs the hole.
like a drywall patch or
that's a good
something.
one.
Yeah.
All right. All right, let's keep moving. Number B. This is a short one, sadly. This is an update. Yes.
That's what she said.
Yes, exactly. An update from the Hawaiian flight that experienced some pretty bad turbulence, injured a bunch of people. On January 6, 2023, the NTSB reported that there were 4 people with serious injuries and 38 people with minor injuries. The occurrence is rated an accident, as being investigated by the NTSB. That's all we know.
Okay.
Fair enough. And we all know the definition of an accident because I covered it a couple of plane tails ago. It might even be the last plane tail.
Well, since you're the one that did the last plane tail, tell us what exactly qualifies it for an accident. Is it injury and dollar amounts, or you're the one that opened up this can of worms, sir?
Yes, you're quite right. Just a second. Open recent.
Okay, we
crash
pause
investigation.
for.
All right. You
technical
asked for it.
difficulties.
You're going to get it.
Oh, no.
A person is fatally or seriously injured as a result of being in the aircraft or direct contact with any part of the aircraft, including parts which have become detached from the aircraft, or direct exposure to jet blasts, except when the injuries are from natural causes, self-inflicted or inflicted by other persons, or when the injuries are to stowaways hiding outside the areas normally available to the passengers or crew, or the aircraft sustains damage or structural failure which adversely affects the structural strength, performance or flight characteristics of the aircraft and would normally require major repair or replacement of the affected component, except for engine failure or damage when the damage is limited to the engine, its cowling or accessories, or for damage limited to propellers, wingtips, antennas, tyres, brakes, fairings, small dents or puncture holes, including bullet holes, in the aircraft skin, or the aircraft is missing or completely inaccessible. But I do like the way they mention puncture holes in the aircraft.
I do like
skin.
the way they mention that. Yes.
Puncher holes?
Yes.
Like from a boxer?
No, I was thinking more from
Not puncher,
a
but
drug
puncture.
cartel.
Puncture. Gotcha.
Like a tire.
Yeah.
P-U-N, puncture, C-T-U-I-E.
Well, you know, Liz, you just thought that this was going to be a short news item.
No, we have a lot to discuss about this, clearly.
How wrong.
So it was an accident, so it met that criteria.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Miami Nick, for that
No problems.
clarification. All right, let's go on with this one. An interesting, we don't cover, what do they call it? Crop dusting accidents very often on the show. This was 2 air tractors in, where were they? In Panama. And they were doing agricultural operations. So an air tractor AT-504, Hotel Papa 1955 Alpha Tango, and another air tractor, Hotel Papa 1966 Alpha Tango, were involved in a mid-air collision during aerial application activities at Finca 45 at Guabito, Changuinola district.
Close enough.
Yeah,
you got
thank
Finca, right? It's a farm.
Thank you. Both pilots received serious injuries and both aircraft were written off. One pilot later died of his injuries. It has not been confirmed if he was the pilot of 1955 AT or 1966 AT. Not that it really matters. So that's it's dangerous.
Yeah,
dangerous
that's dangerous
activity.
flying. I mean, it's very obviously low because you're trying to get whatever the application is onto the area that you're applying it to without a lot of spread to areas it's not supposed to be. It's a lot of I listened to, I'm trying to remember which podcast it was now, but I listened to a podcast some time ago where they interviewed someone who was basically a career crop duster and talked about how they got into it and all the times they'd snagged power lines and clipped treetops and all kinds of other just really terrifying sounding things to me. So, it's they're trying to be very quick and precise and accurate with where they're doing their spraying. So.
Yeah, and long days as well, because when it's the season for crop dusting, they're working from dawn to dusk.
Exactly.
Very few breaks, and of course the material sometimes it's
they can be hazardous.
Yeah, they have to breathe this stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And it's everyone thinks about like the proximity to the ground as the primary danger. I mean, it is the primary danger, and the things that Steph said, flying the trees and power lines. But when you also think about the fact that, like Nick said, these guys are flying say 10 or 12 hours a day, but they might be making, instead of an airline pilot who flies 1 12-hour leg, they might be making 3 to 5 landings every hour. So then you talk about like 30 operations at an airport, and then
or off airport even, because a lot of times these are in very rural places. They'll land on roads where they have their both refueling and whatever for the actual application gets reloaded. They have trucks for that as well. So a lot of times they're on these like narrow dirt roads that they're landing on that have ditches on both sides. It's not even airport landings.
Yep.
I mean, I've done 30 airport landings in a day, and that's tiring, but I can't imagine doing that kind of stuff.
So Neil Landwarm said in our live audience, is anyone crop dusting with drones? Prime candidate for pilotless ops, surely? I think they are. Drone applicant. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think some of the limitations of that still, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, is just the amount of volume and, time that you could be in the air doing these applications. But go ahead, Nick. I
was just going to say, there are, I agree with Steph. There are places that are starting to utilize them, both smaller airplanes. I actually have a friend who works for a company that I think it's called Pika, either P-I-K-A or P-Y-K-A, if you look them up, Pika Aviation or Pika Aerospace. And they deal with some, I think, crop dusting down in maybe Brazil with a unmanned aircraft. But there's also some instances of using like unmanned helicopters to do some of the crop dusting, especially I think that's more prevalent maybe over in Japan. But yeah, definitely a thing that happens.
All right. Well, let's continue with this next item. A Canadair CL600S Challenger 600XB X-Ray Bravo Sierra Golf Victor crashed near Venado, Mexico. Both pilots were killed. The aircraft departed Celaya Airport, CYW, on a flight to Saltillo Airport, SLW. Last contact with the flight was when it was en route at flight level 260, 25 nautical miles north of San Luis Potosi. But there's really no information about what happened. It just kind of dropped out of the sky. And what, Liz? You said that? Well, yes, the cactus is on fire, but I don't think that had anything to do with bringing it down. Might have something to do with after it hit the ground and had some fuel and everything else. But I mean, I tried to find the other photo that I shared with you, Liz, last week that basically showed the area where it impacted the ground, and it was just nothing but a bunch of pieces that were maybe, I don't know, about a foot in size, not a lot left of the airplane. Usually you see like big pieces like the tail or some of the engines and that kind of thing, but nothing. It's just like all completely obliterated, and don't know anything else about it other than that. Main man Micah says, isn't that the burning bush? Where's Moses? Now, Micah, let's not make fun of this, okay? It was a very serious incident. But you do make a good point.
It's a good point, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was under the burning bush, but who was under the burning cactus?
It's a different version of the story. Yes.
Wasn't that
That's the Central American version of the story.
That little mouse who used to go very fast. What was his name?
Speedy Gonzales?
Yeah, I think it was Speedy Gonzales. Under the burning cactus. That's why he was going so fast.
I'm just going to assume that it was a coincidence that you're making a Speedy Gonzales reference about Mexico. And I will retain all the rest of my comments.
Anybody out there that is sensitive to any of this kind of thing that we're doing here,
you can write to I'm offended at
pilotguy.com.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just
file your
complaints
complaints appropriately. Yes.
I'm not sure if I have a catch-all email address anymore.
Oh no.
Like I used to. I don't know. We should try that out. See if sending an email to I'm offended at airlinepilotguy.com actually
You're going to
gets
get
to me.
1,400 emails right now to
I doubt it. No, maybe there are like 5 people watching right now and stuff. So
21.
21. Okay, there you go. Woohoo!
Yeehaw!
All right. Let's move on to this next one. Jetstar flight from Tokyo makes an emergency landing and passengers evacuate via slides over a bomb threat.
Oh, yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, it is. Domestic flight between Tokyo and Fukuoka was forced to make an emergency landing in Chubu on Saturday morning after someone phoned Tokyo's Narita Airport and claimed a bomb was on board the aircraft. The suspect allegedly demanded to speak to an airline manager and threatened to detonate the improvised explosive device if the demand wasn't met. Jetstar 501 departed Tokyo Narita at 6:35 a.m. on Saturday before it diverted from its planned route shortly after the bomb threat had been called in. The Airbus A320 aircraft landed safely, but passengers were evacuated onto the runway via emergency slides. Oh, wait. Well, Liz is making a very good point. She said this couldn't be real, this photo here, because we don't see anybody with their luggage.
Ah, good point, yes.
Except it's in Japan where they really value
following
rules and instructions.
Wow. We could learn something from these Japanese people.
They're enormous slides for a single door.
I know. That's huge.
They're huge, yeah. You could go down sideways, couldn't you? You could.
Maybe they designed the doors for Japanese people and the slides for American people.
That's what I was going to say. I was not sure if I should say something so blatantly.
Well, Liz did.
It's like, those are obviously the American slides.
Fair enough.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. This is
you know what else that picture reminded me of, by the way? Just the fact that there's literally nothing else in the picture.
Nothing.
And it's like they've landed like on another planet. It
looks like they landed at Denver, but we're looking east.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah, that kind of it looks the same way. You're right.
Yeah.
Nothing but planes.
Well, I'm sure they parked it at a remote part of the airport in case it did blow up.
Yeah.
Yes. Sensible.
Well, according to Japanese broadcaster NHK, a man called the Narita airport from Germany and made the bomb threat in English. He claimed a 100-kilogram bomb had been hidden in the cargo hold.
100 kilograms?
That's a big bomb, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he'd have been paying excess baggage, wouldn't he?
Oh, well,
220 pounds. He would have had to spread it across 3 bags.
With wires connecting the bags.
Oh, Neil, that's what I was getting ready to say, is that picture reminded me of an old show called, or an old movie called The Langoliers, which is like a Stephen King, how it's kind of like there's a TV show here recently in the States called Manifest, which was like this weird, like time warpy type of airline show. And The Langoliers is similar to that. It was like I don't remember something happened on a flight and like most of the passengers disappeared, but for some reason, like maybe 10 or 20% of the people that were on the airplane remained. And like they landed at this abandoned airport and there was nobody there and they're just like wandering around the terminal. But anyway, that was a comment I was going to make. Neil nailed it on the head.
Way to go, Neil.
Well done.
All right. Unsurprisingly, law enforcement have so far found no evidence of a suspect device on board the aircraft.
Oh,
bomb threats are made
Hawaiian
relatively...
Canoe did this, didn't they, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. I should probably mention
made the bomb threat?
It's from.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to pull up Paddle Your Own Canoe there. Unsurprisingly.
See if they're from Germany?
law enforcement have found no evidence. We don't know what other things have been going on in the background to them to have decided this was a red warning, because they don't do that lightly. They have to have pretty strong evidence that it's a genuine threat and that it's possible that it's a significant risk, a very significant risk before they divert an airplane. So when you say unsurprisingly, paddle your own canoe, law enforcement have found no evidence, I don't think that's a very accurate way to report this, because you really have no idea what was going on in the background.
Maybe they're based in an area where law enforcement is very bad at their job. So they're not surprised that they couldn't find anything.
Well, and isn't it also not true that most of these cases of bomb threats and diversions, and like how often do they really actually find?
True,
device?
But we don't necessarily find out all of the ones that are true. For various reasons, the authorities can hide it, perhaps in the hope of not advertising the likelihood, or concealing it as part of their investigation. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I mean, you have to have a serious threat. So to say unsurprisingly they found no evidence, then you go, yeah, well, if it was a serious threat, they might have found some evidence, but.
So I was a little surprised when I saw the picture with the slides, because I thought, is there really a pressing need to get everybody out of the airplane fast? And then I thought about it, and I
read, Nick, then if you've said that the danger is, or the threat is red, then yes, you're going to land the aircraft, and as soon as possible you're going to evacuate everyone by slides. And this isn't just done by the crew, of course, it's done in conjunction with the threat analysis analyzers. Your company, who should have one, if not the government, and they will call it, in which case you say, well, that's an acceptable risk. Because you're quite right, to throw one out via slides is going to cause injuries.
Because you're guaranteed to have injuries. We talk about that all the time. It's a guaranteed injury event. I like you, Nixie, I thought that was kind of interesting. That I'm not sure in my experience that I've never actually had to divert due to a bomb threat, but I know I never have put a bomb on a plane. But I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting decision to make to actually.
Yeah, so do I. But I mean, either there's a mistake. They were being overly cautious in their threat assessment, or they intelligence services had some more information which they're not revealing to us.
I guess my thought process was, if there really is somebody on the airplane with a device, and the crew is concerned enough about getting the airplane depassengered in, like, what would it take that airplane? Maybe 90 seconds to get everybody off through the slides. There's
supposed to. Yeah.
Still seems like you're probably not going to get everybody far away enough from the airplane. If the bad guy was like, I'm losing all my leverage, I need to blow up my bomb. So then I kind of wondered if they, like you had said, they landed somewhere and they wanted to keep the airplane away from all of the infrastructure, and then maybe just had no way to get people off the airplane because they weren't pulling up to the gate thing.
They usually have the airports they're going to land aircraft at pre-nominated, but if this one wasn't, it just happened to be the closest decent diversion, then they've usually got 20 minutes, half an hour. They could get some stairs out there if they wanted to deplane by stairs.
Yeah.
There's you don't have to do the slide thing, but usually if you're taking it so seriously you've diverted the aircraft, then as soon as you're settled somewhere, you can put the brakes on, you evacuate the airplane, and that's just taken. And the fact that you're going to have some injuries is just part of the, it's just weighing up the pros and cons. Better to have someone with a broken ankle than, blown up.
What'd you say, Steph?
5 injuries in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it could have been worse. And it's hard to second guess.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit,
so
from the
much that we
information
don't
we've
know.
got here, a bloke from Germany makes a threat in English about a Japanese aircraft claiming there's 100 kiloton, that would be a big bomb, 100 kilogram bomb
Seems to have a
hidden
weight
in
and
the
balance issue
cargo
with the
hold.
aircraft. Yeah.
I mean, how's he going to detonate it? I mean, the only real way, usual way to detonate these bombs is by a barometric trigger or a movement trigger, which is very unlikely because the aircraft moves a lot. A timing device, that's common. Telephones and other electronic triggers, not so common because, when you're at altitude, that's very hard to get a signal onto the airplane. And even he didn't know where it was going to land, so he might have, they might have put it somewhere where there's no nearby cell phones, which would be sensible. It's actually quite a hard thing to do to threaten the airplane and then say, well, I won't blow it up, because the way you can trigger a bomb in reality on an aircraft is it's usually done by a device that's going to go off anyway, if you see what I mean.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, we've just done a test. Thank you, Dr. Steph, or somebody. Was it you
was me.
that did the test?
Yes.
And Liz tested the I'm offended at airlinepilotguy.com email address. And at this point, it's not working anymore.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Tis
So
not.
no more of those emails from you guys and gals being offended. We don't care.
Oh, Liz
Jingles
tested it
doesn't
too.
care.
Shingles doesn't care.
Okay. Let's move on, shall we? To this next item. Breaking news. Hawthorne, California, a private jet with 7 people on board. Is that not running? Are we having the same issue again? Darn it. Yeah. Okay. I don't. So much for preloading my videos that don't seem to work after they've been there for a while, I guess. All right. Try it again.
I'm going to give it a thumbs down when we leave.
Oh, no, please don't do that, because then it's going to go to me, and I'm no, please don't. Let me see. We're going to add it to the stream here and see if anything happens. Yes. Ooh, things are moving. All right. That's what she said. A private jet with 7 people on board crashed through a perimeter fence after it apparently slid off the runway when it landed at Hawthorne Municipal Airport, but no injuries were reported. Los Angeles County firefighters responded to the scene after a report of an aircraft crash near Prairie Avenue around 6:30 p.m. Tuesday. The small jet landed safely, but it failed to turn at the end of the runway and ended up, I don't know why I'm laughing, and ended up hitting the perimeter fence, according to fire department spokesperson Henry Narvaez, who is on the screen right now.
Hey, PIO, pilot-induced oscillation.
What?
Oh, you weren't looking at the video on his hat. He's got PIO written on his hat.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they've already determined the cause of this accident.
Yeah,
It's ironic that
absolutely.
he showed up with the cause. Wow. Saw the crash.
Pretty clever, these policemen. The small jet landed safely, but I already read that. There were 7 people on board, including the pilot. They all were safely out of the jet by the time the firefighters arrived. In the aftermath of the crash, the aircraft's tail and wings stretched onto Prairie Avenue, and northbound side of the street was shut down.
Isn't that Pip's old jet, that one? Pilot Pip?
I think it could be. Well, it's an Embraer Phenom or Phenom, as he likes to
that's
call
what he
it,
flies
300.
now, isn't it?
Oh, 300, yeah.
I don't know if he flies that now or not. I know
No, he
one
does
time
not
to
now.
fly
He used
the
to.
Lemon.
I think Colonel Jeff now is flying the Phenom 300.
I just wondered who it was.
Stephen
I could see in the
Stephen Ivy.
background skulking away.
Oh, yeah, I see him running away in the background.
Yeah. With his,
We got you. Photographic evidence. The atmospheric river definitely had something to do with it, Liz, for sure. Wet runway, it's not a long runway. It's like 4,800 feet long. And, out there in Southern California, when it doesn't rain for quite some time and then it does rain, all those things, it pours. All those oils and things in the concrete, kind of come up from that and it gets really slippery. So that may have something to do with it. Or maybe they landed long. I don't know. Who knows what happened there. But they didn't get off the end of the runway before sliding off.
Having a challenging time on the Challenger now, apparently.
Pip's on the Challenger now. Okay. All right. Continuing on with this plethora of news. A pro flight, Zambia, DH-8C on November 25th of 2019, lightning and hail strike, downdraft, and severe turbulence. This is from the Aviation Herald. So they released their final report, concluding the probable causes of the accident were cumulonimbus cloud is associated with extreme weather, such as heavy torrential downpours, hail, storms, and lightning. Due to its size and towering appearance, it is very significant and can be identified from a long distance and is to be avoided at all costs. The cumulonimbus storm cell that caused the above-mentioned damage to the aircraft should have been identified and avoided from a long distance in the same manner that en route weather was avoided, even with the weather radar being unserviceable or not performing satisfactorily. A CB is visually identified from a long distance, as long as it's not embedded. The cause of the accident is attributed to the lack of appreciation by the cockpit crew of the meteorological weather conditions prevailing. In spite of the meteorological aerodrome reports and forecasts to the end, that flight was routed directly into the cumulonimbus storm rather than away from it. Commercial pressure could have contributed due to the 2 hours plus technical delay. Pilots chose a direct route which took the flight into the storm rather than circumnavigating away from the storm. And the pilot exhibited a lack of good airmanship and judgment by failing to report the encounter of heavy turbulence to air traffic control. This should have been done to contribute to the safety of flights from other aircraft by reporting the time, location, and intensity of the encounter. The fact that they requested to deviate left of track was evidence of significant weather activity en route, especially with meteorological information having been given as few cumulonimbus clouds, broken towering cumulus with a base of 3,500, scattered ones with a base 10,000, temperature 29 C with dew point at 15. That's actually a pretty big gap there, between the dew point and temperature. Anyway, cumulonimbus cloud is associated with extreme weather such as heavy torrential. We talked about that before. The fact that the flight was cleared by approach radar to route via Atuli for an ILS approach, but chose rather to route directly to Lima Whiskey for a visual, and then ending up in the middle of a thunderstorm shows that they did not have the runway in sight when they requested a visual approach. The preceding flight from Lusaka into Livingston was delayed for about 2 hours, causing pressure on the crew to try to make up some time. Anyway, Liz was showing some of the photos in the video here. Cracked windshields, some damage to the tail structure, and the nose is just pretty badly damaged.
Beat up there.
Yeah, and then the one with the wing root too. The one where they're walking out of the airplane. That one right there. Look at the wing root of that thing. That's some significant damage. You can see the spar.
Should we report this? Nah, I don't think they'll notice anything when we land.
That's all right.
It'll be fine.
Nobody will know. Yeah. Oh, it could be maybe the NOTAM would have warned them to stay away from that.
From the thunderstorms?
Weather. Yeah.
Yeah. That was probably
Just to be
the ultimate cause. I mean,
just to be clear, people, that doesn't happen with NOTAMs.
Yeah, if your radar isn't working, or you haven't got very good radar, I mean, you can't see all the weather. And if there's a fair amount of cloud around, as Jeff said, it's very hard to tell when there's an embedded thunderstorm that you're about to pop into one. However, if you're requested a direct visual approach that has taken you into a thunderstorm, then you go, Excuse me.
Doesn't sound very visual.
How are you flying a visual approach that goes into a thunderstorm and still, because
I
you
could
can't
see it around the thunderstorm before I flew directly into the thunderstorm. That
thunderstorm is always there all the time. So I knew that if I fly toward that thunderstorm, I'll hit the runway eventually.
Exactly. You see that? So that one sentence there, I think, rather condemns the crew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of condemning, this is. Did we ever talk about this original incident, Liz? I don't think we did. Yeah, it was kind of disgusting. You're right. Okay. So a Mumbai man, Shankar Mishra, urinated on an elderly woman while drunk. Not the elderly woman, but this man was drunk while on an Air India flight in November. He was arrested late on Friday night by the Delhi police from Bengaluru and was, how do you say it? Bengaluru, and was brought back to the national capital. They sent him to judicial custody for 14 days, saying no police custody was required for further investigation. So let's see. Let's talk about what happened here. On a New York to Delhi Air India flight on November 26th, the 34-year-old Shankar Mishra allegedly unzipped his pants and urinated on an elderly woman in business class. He later begged the woman not to report him to the police, saying it would impact his wife and child. Air India filed a police complaint only this week, so quite some time after the November 26th incident, and said there was no further flare-up or confrontation, and respecting the perceived wishes of the female passenger, the crew elected not to summon law enforcement upon landing. It banned Mishra from flying for 30 days, triggering outrage by social media users who said it was not enough. The complainant had told the crew she did not want to see Mishra's face and was stunned when the offender was brought before her and started crying and profusely apologizing, according to her complaint, which is part of the FIR, First Information Report. The woman also accused the crew of being deeply unprofessional and said they were not proactive in managing a very sensitive and traumatic situation. It really doesn't go into detail why this guy decides to, start urinating on an old lady in business class. Well, okay, but I've been drunk before. You've
never
said,
urinated.
Well, I'm just going to pee on somebody.
An elderly woman.
It's just surely there must be something else that happened.
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I can see where if someone was drunk enough that they would have no awareness really of what they were doing. Yeah.
Wow.
So
never
Neil
been
brings
like
up a
that.
Good point of maybe there were other sleep aids involved. We're talking about a long flight from New York to Delhi.
True.
Multiple time zone change has really messed up his sleep-wake cycles. You could be, intoxicated, inebriated, and also kind of sleepwalking. That's
like a Passenger
possibility.
Brian kind of thing going on there.
Uh-oh. Yeah, there's I don't know. I've experienced not personally anything, but I've seen enough humanity to know that sometimes these things can occur.
You've seen enough humanity, huh?
That's what she said.
All right. Well, so they kind of hint there that the crew wasn't very sympathetic or they didn't handle it well. Well, this is kind of a follow-up from, where is this from? From Paddle Your Own Canoe. Air India suspends the pilot and 4 cabin crew over infamous business class urination incident that has enraged India. The new chief executive Campbell Wilson said on Saturday that the carrier has suspended 1 pilot and 4 members of the cabin crew over the incident in which an inebriated senior Wells Fargo employee urinated on an elderly female passenger sitting in business class during a flight between New York, JFK, and Delhi.
That explains it. He was a
I
cowboy.
know. We know. Not only that. Well, no. I mean, the name is kind of a cowboy name, right? But
Wells Fargo, yeah.
I just focus on the fact that it is a financial services person, and we all know how those people that have worked work in the financial sector, you know how they are, right, Liz? Oh, she's gone. I'm looking down here, and she's left her position. She didn't want to hear what I had to say about that.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, I don't blame her either. Hell, don't tell her. Just don't tell her I said that. Okay. The response by airline staff to the incident has enraged many Indians over accusations that the cabin crew initially did little to look after the victim and failed to challenge the suspect. There is also widespread disbelief that the suspect was allowed to disembark with other passengers without law enforcement being called to meet the aircraft on arrival. Anyway, the bottom line is when Wells Fargo, the bank, found out about this incident, by the way, I think he was the vice president of Wells Fargo, India. I mean, pretty high up there, and he was fired. Yeah, he's gone. All right. At least they're doing something to emphasize the fact that you have to, treat these things a little bit differently than this crew did, apparently.
I'm just wondering why they disciplined the pilot. I'm trying to work out what his.
Maybe the pilot left the cockpit and came back and was somehow involved with.
I mean, the decision making. That is possible, but generally speaking, we don't come back to deal with these incidents nowadays because of the security implications.
Or maybe the fact that he didn't have law enforcement called if he were properly informed by the cabin crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting.
Not sure. Yeah, he lost his job.
Or just there's enough outrage that they felt like they had to be that overly proactive. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or retroly proactive. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I think this hit the news, and Indian people have been, stunned as to how this could happen, and the guy could basically walk away from it. I think that's what's generated a lot of the problems.
I agree.
Having said that, it's a pretty foul thing to do, and behave yourself when you're on an airplane or anywhere in life. Please, people, be nice.
Yes, behave yourself. Keep it in your pants. Use the lavatory instead.
Yeah, there's enough of them stuck around an airplane, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. What, lavatories or... Okay.
I don't know. Perhaps Steph might struggle to find a toilet in hers, and Nick probably does, but... You got a toilet in that DC-3? Oh, sorry, C-47?
Should be.
Yes.
I bet there's not one in that
Flushing toilet?
Well,
porcelain seat?
Evacuation. Yeah, I mean, we have an evacuation tube, and then we have a 5-gallon bucket with a fold-down toilet seat. So you actually are sitting on a toilet seat.
Honey bucket.
Okay.
It just folds down onto a 5-gallon bucket.
5 gallons, huh? That's a lot of toilet.
Depends on how many people want to use it in one flight.
Yeah.
How long the flight
Of course,
is.
you could just buy a 10-gallon hat, and then you'd have 2 toilets.
Yeah.
All right. Time to go on to the next time. Final report. A Malu Aviation Shorts 360. Good looking airplane. Registration 9 Sierra
Is
Golf.
it though?
No. Sarcasm. Performing a flight from Goma, DR Congo to, there's no vowel in there between the N and the D. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Ndola.
Ndola. Zambia.
No, Steph got it right. Ndola.
Ndola. Okay. Zambia with 5 crew, 2 pilots, and 3 engineers. Wow. 3 engineers and 2 pilots.
Have you seen a Shorts 360?
Yeah.
For the interior of one, the cockpit.
Well,
okay.
One to hold the wings on, one to hold the tail on.
I was going to say they're probably using the English version of engineers, and they're all just
They're all
mechanics running around the
mechanics.
cabin trying
They're
to fix
mechanics.
things faster
Yeah.
than they break.
Well, anyway, they were on a positioning flight for maintenance. There you go. That's why they had all the engineers on, I guess, to Lansaria, South Africa, with a planned intermediate stop at Ndola. The aircraft descended to 5,000 feet, was cleared for a left base to runway 9. The crew reported the airport in sight and was cleared for a visual approach to runway 9, handed off to Tower. Although Tower could not see the aircraft, Tower cleared the aircraft to land on runway 9. Tower subsequently attempted to contact the aircraft several times without success until Ndola approach informed the Tower that the aircraft was safely on the ground. However, on Peter Zuze Military Airport, 8 nautical miles southeast of the intended airport in clear weather and daylight.
Oopsie.
Well, they had a airport in sight, or an airport in sight, not the airport in sight. The final report from Zambia's Accident Investigation Bureau said the cause of the incident from submitted reports and all related documentation gathered indicate that the aircraft was flown on a route with a wrong waypoint, which was the Ndola airport. All the briefing offices were unable to pick up this mistake. The aircraft was operated by experienced pilots who were very familiar with this route, operated via Ndola Airport. Their surprise landing at Peter Zuze Airport also confirms that they did not receive the NOTAMs.
Well, we know why that happened.
Yep. Okay, yeah. Full
they
circle.
Were stuck in America.
Yep.
That was a corrupted file.
Yeah. It was a corrupted file issued. That's what I would blame it on.
Yeah,
with regards to the closure of Ndola Airport and transfer to Simon Mwanza Kapwepi International Airport. Human factors is a cause of this incident. Thank you, Liz. Mainly due to both organizational arrangements put in place prior to the flight and service providers who missed the stop gaps by not noticing that a wrong waypoint had been indicated on the filed flight plan. Okay, well, regardless of that, I think we would all agree, you have to identify the airport that you are supposed to be landing at. Or
this is interesting, though. Yeah, so that used to be the correct airport until a month prior, and it changed.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a gotcha there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've done this before, not landing at the wrong airport, but actually turning off a runway and heading to where the terminal used to be. And they go,
where are you
going? Where are you going? To the gate. They go, yeah, it's on the other side of the airport. Yeah, we knew that.
It's just a nice day for a scenic, it's like a trip down memory lane. Good times when the terminal used to be over there.
Muscle memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, so the guys filed a flight plan to the old airport.
Correct.
And then they flew to the old airport.
Yep. And nobody noticed that they filed to the wrong
So what
airport.
did they do wrong?
That's not their fault.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
the only way you can really get the crew is that when they were on short finals, they should have recognized they were now at the wrong airport.
But did they really know that the new airport...
Yeah, if Jeff is flying into LaGuardia for 10 years,
well,
right?
He
and
made
then,
so many mistakes, we'll just take that for red, won't we?
And then Delta's like, we're going to start flying into JFK instead.
Who?
Acme.
Acme. Sorry.
Yeah.
Beep that out, please, Liz. Acme changes to JFK, and then they're like, hey, Jeff, you're flying to New York. And he goes and gets in the airplane. I don't think that's his fault,
Files a flight
is
plan
it?
to LaGuardia. Nobody notices.
I mean, why
Unless
does
there was a NOTAM that was like, no more LaGuardia. Or it's still there.
That's
We
what
just don't go
NOTAMs
there
are.
anymore.
They're just a bunch of garbage.
I guess that was what I was getting at, is like, what if the old airport closed? That's what they would have found out from the NOTAM, right? But
the NOTAM, so
but
the
I don't think the
investigation
old
team
airport-
notes that both airports did not observe updated NOTAMs.
Well, I might point out that the two runways had different bearings.
Mm-hmm.
One was 09 and one was 10. So
This wasn't a case of mistaken. It wasn't like in
they
some cases
landed
where
at the airport that they were trying to
they
land
intended
at.
to.
seems to suggest that it was mistaken.
I agree. I think the report could be written better, but I think if you read it all the way to the bottom, which I didn't do until Jeff just read it, I'm not sure.
Reader.
I'm not sure that the crew is. When I started reading it, I thought the crew
100%.
flew to the wrong airport.
The crew
And now I'm
intended
not
to
sure I
go
believe
to the
that.
airport that they actually landed at. It just happened that airport closed a month prior, and they transferred everything to a different airport for the town but for some reason they didn't know that. And it's probably because of the very sophisticated navigation and updated databases in the Shorts 360, I would say, like on their glass cockpit, that would have informed them that they, no, not a glass cockpit in the Shorts 360. I don't know.
I also like
Perhaps.
in the human factors element, I like where it says, it is very unlikely that this crew navigated the traditional way using maps.
Yeah. Yes,
Paper
that's the
maps.
proper way. They should have been using maps.
Oh, there you go. Should have used a darn map.
Dead reckoning. Pilotage.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
They're
I
surprised,
took it a completely different way when I first read this, but now, I kind of understand that they thought they were landing at this airport all along before they even left. And
they did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, NOTAM's strikes again. Yeah. Okay. And wow, we got a lot of news here. Should we keep going, Liz? Or
Yeah, because there's not that much feedback.
okay. All right. Let's do next one. Juliet, investigation launched. This is from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Investigation launched after flight attendant hopefuls reportedly ordered to strip down to their underwear during recruitment event. Oh, no. Spain's Ministry of Labor has launched an investigation after a group of female flight attendant hopefuls were ordered to strip down to their underwear so that the recruiters could physically check them for scars, birthmarks, tattoos, and other, quote, unacceptable marks or defects. The alleged incident occurred at a hotel in Madrid, which was hosting an open recruitment event. Come join us for Kuwait Airways, but organized by a third-party agency, according to several of the victims who shared their stories of what happened with Spain's El Diario. The victims had gone to Madrid's Malia Barajas Hotel, close to the city's main airport, on November 5th, 2022, where the Gulf-based recruitment agency Mechti had hired out conference rooms for what was essentially an open casting call for budding flight attendants. Open casting is a fairly common practice amongst Persian Gulf airlines, where recruiters make whistle-stop tours in cities around the world looking for the right candidate. Some airlines only recruit female flight attendants.
Whistle-stop tours. Is that a show title?
Could be. They're looking for the right candidate. Some airlines only recruit female flight attendants, and recruiters are even sometimes given a list of physical attributes to look for. In this case, one of the victims told El Diario that short-listed candidates had been called into a room one by one, where they were told to strip down to their underwear so that the recruiters could examine their bodies. A 23-year-old victim who had been identified only as Bianca said during the initial assessment that some candidates were looked over and cast aside because the recruiter didn't like their smile or because they had pimples. She recalled how one of the recruiters ordered her to open her mouth and look inside as if I were a dog. He almost put his eye in my mouth to see my teeth. Bianca says the candidates who made it through the initial cull were then called into a room one by one where a female recruiter looked over them. The recruiter asked Bianca to raise her dress further up her legs, but when she only lifted it to knee level, the recruiter lifted it up all the way to her panties. The dress had a zipper on the back, and she asked me to lower it to my waist, Bianca continued. I stayed in a bra. She said it was to see that we didn't have scars, birthmarks, or tattoos. Another 23-year-old, Mariana, said young, talented women were turned away because they had moles or tiny facial scars. Another was turned away because she wore glasses, and another because she had braces. In the opaque world of flight attendant recruitment, getting rejected for having the wrong look is widely believed to be commonplace, but it is incredibly rare for recruiters to verbalize these reasons for rejection. Yeah, most airlines no longer require scar or tattoo checks in areas not otherwise visible while wearing the airline uniform. Even airlines that recruit overseas won't carry out these kinds of physical checks in a third country due to varying employment laws. In this case, the Spanish Ministry of Labor has already opened an investigation and could refer the matter to the prosecutor's office. The Minister of Labor said what happened was intolerable behavior that violates the dignity and fundamental rights of these women. It incurs discrimination in access to employment and collects data that is absolutely irrelevant to the selection process. Yeah, that's just horrible.
Yeah. Although
No, I
I can
agree,
imagine,
100%.
yeah, I mean, so these are, sounds like mostly very young women looking for a start in a career that, ostensibly they would like to do. I can imagine now as being slightly older, what my response would be to someone who asked me to do something like that as part of an employment interview. It probably isn't suitable for saying on air.
Might be a physical response.
It might be physical, and it might also involve a lot of colorful language. And maybe I would show them something, but not something they'd like to see. So
good for you.
Move them on the way out the door.
Okay.
So anyway,
this is classic. We've seen, countless recently, the last few years, situations where women have been taken advantage of, and this is just awful. And you'd have thought by now the message would have got to everywhere, even QA Airways, that their recruiters shouldn't be doing this. And I hope they've stopped doing business with this third-party recruiting agency.
I think they will. Yeah. Hey, if you're in the Netherlands and you are waiting for a package to be delivered,
yes, yeah,
we think we might know why you haven't received it yet. This is from NL Times. A delivery van full of packages and with its engine running was abandoned in front of Schiphol Airport's departure hall on Wednesday evening. The driver left it there to board a plane. It often happens that couriers drop off packages at Schiphol, but this time no one came back. We then saw on camera images of how the gentleman left his van and checked in at the airport, presumably to go on a trip, the spokesperson said. Let's see. The Konin. Okay, who wants to pronounce that?
I have no idea how to pronounce that.
I'm not in charge of this podcast.
Okay, well, the Koninklijke
It's a policing force that works as part of the Dutch military. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Steph. I knew that too, but I was trying to say the words.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, they're part of the Dutch military.
Where's Masha
responsible for airport security. Yeah, Masha, where are you? Well, that wouldn't help. How would we know? we can't hear her. And anyway, they naturally consider the situation suspicious, called in a sniffer dog to examine the van for explosives and other contraband. They did not find anything suspicious. Technically, the courier did not commit a felony or a serious crime. The only illegal act was parking in a no parking zone.
Yeah.
There will be a good conversation between him and his employer.
I don't think so. I don't think
he's going. I don't think he really had any intention of going back to work.
Oh, wow.
There's no stopping in the red zone. The white zone is for, I forget how that goes now.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Okay, last but not least, no, this is from a different one, ctvnews.ca. Figures, a Canadian news agency. Let's see. TSA finds a 4-foot boa constrictor in carry-on baggage. The bizarre yet fascinating menagerie of animals detected by TSA agents in carry-on baggage at U.S. airports carries on into 2023. This time the discovery was an old standby theme popularized in movies, snakes on a plane. Well, it was one 4-foot boa constrictor to be exact, and technically it never made it onto the plane. Still, it's intriguing. The Transportation Secretary Administration tweeted, I'm getting tired of reading these tweets from the TSA. I don't think they're funny anymore, but okay, we're going to continue. This is Tampa International Airport. Happened on December 15th. And, okay, here we go. Quote, our officers didn't find this hysterical. Coiled up in a passenger's carry-on was a 4-foot boa constrictor. We really have no adoration for discovering any pet going through an X-ray machine. You really have to see the words that were
TSA. Stick to your day job.
I see it, and I still don't get that one. Is adder
adder
have
is
something
a
to do with
snake.
okay?
Yeah.
Now I get it.
The puns and admonishments don't stop there. Sadly, do you have aspirations of taking a snake on a plane? Don't get upsetty spaghetti I don't understand that one. By not understanding your airline's rules. For instance, airlines don't allow nope ropes in carry-on bags. Is that another term for a snake?
That's actually there was like a meme that gave kids description of animals with drawings, and what the snake was a nope rope or something like that.
Oh, I've never heard that. Okay. The airlines don't allow nope ropes in carry-on bags, and only a few allow them to slither around in checked bags if packaged correctly. TSA notified the airline that the woman with the carry-on was ticketed to fly on, and the airline did not permit the snake on the plane. Oh, I thought there was going to be another cute little pun there, but apparently not. Tim Van Ram in our audience. Was the boa concealed in peanut butter? Well, if it had been, Tim, we wouldn't be talking about it, would we? We would not. They would not have discovered it.
No, you can easily get a 4-foot boa constrictor into a jar of peanut butter.
Yeah, a very large jar of peanut butter. All right.
Well, everything's big in America.
I didn't. Yeah. Around Thanksgiving, poor Smells the cat. That's a terrible name for a cat. Was found in a carry-on at John F. Kennedy International. The person with the carry-on said the cat wasn't his, but came from his household. It's not mine, but it lives in my house. After the ordeal and the indignity of it all, Smells was rewarded with a sumptuous Thanksgiving spread.
Now I could almost see a cat, like, you know, if you got like roommates or something, and one like packing for a trip and like walks out and walks back in, and the cat like snuck in there and took a nap. I think you'd notice on the way to the airport, though, if your luggage was like moving around a little.
Meowing.
Meowing.
That's usually a dead giveaway when your luggage is making a meow sound. All right. I think, please save us. It's time. Getting to know us. That part of the show where we kind of get all caught up with what we have all been doing between shows. All right. Well, Steph.
Yeah.
Please tell us what you have been up to.
I don't know. When was the last time I talked to you guys?
Was it last year?
Probably.
I think it was. Was it the Christmas episode?
I have no idea.
It may have been.
It's been a while.
Yeah. How was your Christmas?
So
and
Christmas
New Year's?
and New Year's were good. Yeah, if I've already talked about some of this, I'm sorry, because I don't remember if I was on the show since then or not.
Well, if you start talking about something we've already,
and it sounds very familiar,
said,
you can just stop me. Yeah, that'll be fine.
I'm ready with the buzzer.
Yeah, Christmas and New Year's both relatively quiet. I didn't have any really large family gatherings or anything like that. Although I did go to the Chicago area for a family get together a couple days before New Year's when I was off work. Had a get together mostly with a couple of cousins, and had a very nice kind of night before New Year's Eve dinner with all of them. They all have young kids, and they were able to secure babysitters, so we kind of did New Year's Eve that night. Then we stayed out probably way too late, and we all felt rather sluggish the next morning for it, but it was nice to see all of them and catch up, because that gets
you didn't pee on anybody, did you?
We did not. No, to my knowledge, there was no.
Good.
nothing reached that level of, as far as I can remember, nothing reached that level of intoxication. So
good.
That's a plus. That's a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually, we've actually had some pretty nice weather since the first of the year. So the official New Year's holiday for us was on the following Monday, which I think was the 2nd. And I was off at work, and the weather was nice, and the local drop zone where I fly and jump decided that it was nice enough that we should maybe see if people wanted to come out and jump out of airplanes on a Monday, which doesn't happen very often. Usually we're not open on Mondays or holidays. And actually had a pretty good turnout of people, so that was a lot of fun. We did a couple jumps. I flew a couple loads of jumpers. Wasn't planning on doing that, and it was kind of a nice surprise. Did I tell you about that?
No, you weren't here, but we talked about it. Yeah, because you sent us some pictures.
I did send some pictures. Yes.
Liz made me do the buzzer.
Fair enough. I was like, I don't think I mentioned that. I would have remembered. Anyway.
No, you hadn't.
Okay, fair enough.
We didn't hear you actually saying that, but we have those pictures in our minds.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah. Was that a caravan, the first one that you showed with a bunch of people in it? And
yeah, it was the caravan. So they advertised, if enough people came, if they could get people out, there'd be someone. It was actually not me. A different pilot had volunteered to fly the 182 for the day if people wanted to come out and fun jump on a holiday. So they had enough people show up that, and I showed up. I wasn't, planning or had not committed to being there. Because the pilot that was doing the flying was not, he's not signed off on the caravan as of yet. So about halfway through the day, one of the owners came over to me and said, would you mind if we did some caravan loads? Like I was going to be upset or disappointed that they wanted me to fly. I was like, yeah, of course. There's plenty of people here. Let's go ahead and do it. If
I would have if I hadn't popped over that beer a little while ago.
Well, no, can't do that when you're jumping either. That's a no-no.
You can't jump with a beer.
No,
I'm sure somebody has.
Well, it's a no-no, but I'm not.
We're not going to say.
I've seen what you daredevils are like.
Very responsible daredevils, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we value our privileges to be able to do those things. And, as someone put it to me once, it's a sport with a lot of potential for danger, but performed to the highest safety standards possible. So.
Yep. I've seen them jumping out and sitting in cars and other things.
Yeah, that's what they do, like in the desert, though, where they've got lots of
land. The different rules in the desert.
There's different rules down there. I don't know. It's a bunch of cowboys. Thank you. Let's see. And then I guess the next weekend was the one immediately following that. I was back to work. It's been a little on the quieter side, which is not uncommon after the first of the year. Still, it's not as bad as it used to be, but still kind of a holdover of the way our insurance system works here in the United States, where if you've spent a certain amount of money, oftentimes you don't have more out-of-pocket responsibility for things as you get towards the end of the year until things reset for the next year. So anything that's more elective in nature, people often put off until the end of the year. So it gets very busy for us because we do a lot of elective things. And then after the first of the year, it gets a little bit quieter again. So that's been nice. But the next weekend, last weekend, I think, if I'm doing my days correctly, we had nice weather again. So the drop zone did the same thing on Saturday. And I actually I don't think I flew any on that day, but I did do 4 skydives. So that was good. So I'm off to a good start for the year for sky sports and sky activities. I'll take it. And let's see, anything else coming up? I don't think so. I do have my annual conference coming up, but not for another couple of weeks.
And I'm
your
hoping conference.
Conferencing. And it's going to be a good year for conferencing.
I was going to say it should be a good conference with all the rain that over there.
Oh my gosh, keep that atmospheric river or whatever they call it coming, because
keep going.
A lot of the ski resorts in Utah have already had over 300 inches of snow for the year. So,
wow.
Awesome. I'm very excited. It's going to be a good conference.
Oh, no. And speaking of cats, we were talking about cats earlier. Nick Anderson is reminding me of a cat playing with cat toys. Very distracting. What are you doing? He's been into the catnip.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. Why don't you, go ahead. This will distract him from playing with the cat toys. Nick, Captain Nick, what have you been up to? Steph, were you finished with?
Yeah, I'm finished,
okay.
And actually, it's a good stopping point. I don't know. When we started the show, I was having a little snack, which turned into full-on dinner. But I'm very thirsty, and I need to go
get
grab
something
a beverage to quench my thirst.
Get one for me too.
I had some Indian food, which is very good, which I ordered mild.
Nice IPA, please.
And it did not arrive mild. It was quite spicy, but I managed.
Uh-oh.
I'm doing okay.
Well done.
My sinuses are clear. It's very
Good.
All right.
Good.
I will be right back.
Be right back.
Yep.
All right. Nika.
Yes, man. What can I do for you?
So, have you been doing anything interesting lately between
No.
episodes?
I went to see. I went to see Captain Nige, but that's not the least bit
not
interesting.
Okay.
No, that's about all I've been up to, even vaguely aviation related. Of course, I keep tabs on my very old friend who used to fly in the Air Force and also many years with Cathay Pacific and Korean. So we met up, and he actually had a little message for Captain Jeff, not so much for anyone else, and I thought I would pass it on.
Hello, Jeff. How are you doing? I'm with Captain Slick in some pub somewhere in southern England. And, we're all being told to hush because I've got to say something very important. Happy birthday, you old fart. And can I just say that I'm only 1.5 shows behind and still enjoying it. And I think you're up to 551 now. More to the point, I hear you're retiring. Tell Acme at least 3 months in advance, otherwise you won't get your full benefits. And mate, I've been enjoying retirement now for over 10 years. It is brilliant. Okay? Sorry about this. This is a parrot on my shoulder.
So I think
brilliant.
the message was that he realizes you're in the last year of airline work as a pilot, unless you decide to do something else. And he's been retired for 10 years, and he was saying how wonderful it was to be retired and to put it all behind you. And,
thanks for the translation.
Grasp life with both hands and do what you've wanted to do for years and get on with a bit of life. So I think that was his message. But anyway, we met at Ye Olde Red. I say oldie, you don't pronounce the ye apparently. Ye Old Red Lion or something, which was about halfway between us, and it was a very pleasant meal. Very nice indeed. Well done, Nige.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And that's really it from me for this week. Not much going on, and not much going on next week, really, other than I am producing, very nearly finished, the next Plain Tale, which will be on the next show. And for those who particularly enjoy stories from my logbook, it is RAF Form 414, Volume 19. And we're getting very close to the Pine Gap incident, which Australians will know all about Pine Gap. No one else does, probably, except for the CIA and the NSA, who know a lot about it. And I found out a lot about it as well. So there's a little taster.
Okay, that sounds interesting. What a teaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about the cover art from the last episode?
Well, we did feature an awful lot of stories about people shooting at airplanes, mainly in celebration, really, because, it's quite common in some countries for people to go outside and fire their weapons, and everyone seems to have one, and the aircraft, I think Middle East Airlines are one that particularly suffer, often get hit, so that was the theme of it. And we've got a nice hunting scene, or in this case a no hunting scene, with two typical Americans hunting, a lady and a man, and a hunting, what do you call that, a hide, I guess, splattered with no hunting signs, except, of course, it looks like a porcupine with all the gun barrels sticking out of it. Anyway, that's a bit of fun. Stop shooting at the airplanes.
Yeah. What do we call that, a blind?
A blind.
Yeah.
It's a blind.
We call
is that for all your blind hunters?
Yes.
Is that why you go around shooting each other?
Yes.
So that you're in a blind, so whatever you're shooting at doesn't see you.
Let's just say, now we're offending blind people. Wow.
All right, yes. Oh, by the way, I did put a nice doggy in that one. So there's a nice
with the airplane in his mouth.
Yeah, retrieving one of the shot planes.
That's great. What is that? I didn't zoom in on the posted sign there at the bottom.
Posted.
Yes, is that somebody's mugshot that we would recognize? I can't tell.
Oh no, it's that's just a bit of. I thought the same when I looked at it, and no, it's not actually. It's just a bit of wood underneath the old poster. But I did stick a nice Queen of the Skies there, full of bullet holes. So I thought Rick would appreciate that.
I'm sure he will. Very nice. Definitely. Very nice. And that's exactly what we Americans look like when we go out hunting.
Yeah, that's I thought you did.
My typical hunting garb.
Yep.
Yes.
Dress. White spats and
very handsome in that hunting garb.
Very nice.
No, see the lady on the side? She's got her dress on and her
Oh yes. Very fashionable with her hunting gloves.
Gloves and
yes, absolutely. No, perfect, I thought.
Yeah. Okay. Nixie, what have you been up to, sir?
I've been traveling quite a bit for work. Last time I was on was the week after Christmas. I had been studying for my power plant test, which I generally don't tell people I'm taking tests because it's less embarrassing if I fail them. And then Jeff told everyone at the end of the show.
Oops.
But it was all right because I passed it. So I passed it on.
I have confidence in you.
Congratulations.
So I'm all done with that. All the boxes are checked there. I will say it was actually pretty cool. So leading up to the power plant, I was spending a bunch of time studying in the hangar. It was one instance where it was beneficial to have a father named Hector the Collector because we had all sorts of spare engine parts in the hangar. So, for the practical side of the test, you got to do all sorts of actions or activities on various components, right? So like carburetors, I've done a little bit of work on carburetors, so I felt pretty good about that, but we had a couple of spare carburetors, so we took one all the way apart and we worked on like setting the flow, replacing the jets, doing all that sort of stuff. Magneto, I spent like a whole afternoon in there internally timing a Bendix magneto, so I had timed a magneto to an engine, I don't know, 50 times, a lot. I feel fairly comfortable with it, but I'd never mess with the internal timing. So we cracked that thing open and I was able to set the points and internally time the magnet to the distributor and do all that sort of stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then my dad,
complicated.
Yeah. And then my dad, who used to be a maintenance instructor for King Airs, one evening gave me and then one of my buddies who's also working on his AMP basically like a classroom session on turbines, which I sent a picture and Steph correctly identified it as being a PT6, an early PT6.
Woohoo!
It was a -21. So we went through that, like talked through all of the different functions that the different parts had in it. I don't know anything about turbines, so that was pretty helpful. And then I went and I got to my test, and I think I talked about it last time, but the weird part is, and I don't know if it's like this for pilot tests because I haven't taken a pilot test in many years, but the FAA now generates the tests. And so like I give the DME my paperwork, the DME submits it to the FAA, and then the FAA actually generates the oral and practical. Oh. So instead of the DME, like when I took my private pilot test, the DME had like an oral exam that he used. I know this because me and my brother took our pilot tests 1 week apart from the same examiner. And when we compared notes, I think there was one question that was different between our two orals.
Wow.
So But in this instance, he printed off. So like he submits my paperwork to the FAA, and then the FAA gives him my oral and my practical assignments. And so like the way the oral works, did I explain this for the airframe?
I think so.
If you did, I wasn't here to hear it, so I'm interested.
I regularly feel like I'm losing my mind. So
just wait until you're a little bit older, like me.
I know. But anyway, there are various subsections in each section. So like the power plant, there's subsections for like reciprocating engines, turbine engines, fuel metering systems, electrical systems, all that sort of stuff. And so then within each subsystem, the FAA gives you 7 questions, and the examiner asks 4 questions. And if you get 3 or 4 questions, out of the first 4 questions, if you get 3 or 4 correct, then you pass that section and move on. If you miss more than 1 question out of the first 4, he has to ask you all 7. And I think you can only miss 2 or 3 out of all 7. I don't remember. It's very confusing. Like, leave it up to the FAA to like make it way more confusing than it seems like it needs to be. Fortunately, I did pretty well on the oral, so I didn't have to go past the 4 questions. And then my practical assignments, the examiner like opened it up and looked at it and like actually laughed out loud. And I was like, what? And he's like, you don't have to do anything. I was like, what do you mean I don't have to do anything? And he was like, you have a task to dress a propeller, and then everything else is inspections. And I was like, oh, really? And we went through it, and it was like, I had to dress a propeller, which basically means, file out a nick, like remove all of the roughness
Dings,
from a nick.
chips, yeah.
And then it was like, examine an exhaust system, examine an induction system, examine an engine mount, examine an ignition harness. So that was it.
I can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Give it the good old eyeball. So we went into the. Well, he gave me the prop. I fixed the prop, and then we went into the propulsion lab, or the power plant lab. And this is at the trade school here in Wichita. So very well outfitted situation. And we went into the power plant lab, and they had probably 20 flat engines, probably like half a dozen radials, and probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 turbine engines, of various states in there on stands and all sorts of stuff. And so he'd like point to one and he'd be like, all right, go inspect the exhaust system on that engine and tell me what you find. And then go inspect the engine mount on that one. So it was pretty straightforward. Smoked through it pretty fast. Probably took twice as long as we needed to, because the DME was like an old airplane guy also. So he had lots of like old airplane stories. And so he'd like tell me a story, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's funny. A similar thing happened when we did this. And like, we'd just start like chatting. So that was fun. Got that out of the way. I believe that was New Year's Eve, or maybe the day before New Year's Eve. That was a Friday. We went through New Year's. And then I got to go to Dayton for work last week, which was interesting. I left on Monday, or I was supposed to leave on Monday, the 2nd. It was 1/8 of a mile in fog when I was supposed to leave. And so as my dad and I were driving to the airport, I got a text saying your flight has been delayed for an hour. And so I said, all right, hey Dad, let's just go back to the shop. So we went back and hung out for a little bit, and then drove back to the airport. I was supposed to leave at 1:20. So I was now getting to the airport at like 1 instead of at noon. And then,
I'm glad that you have similar airport arrival times to what I choose to do. So thank you.
oh, I get there early.
Oh.
I'm not like you.
So like, I thought you said you were getting there at 1:00 for a 1:20 flight.
Well, but they pushed it an hour. So it was like a
an hour
2:30
beyond
flight
that.
now.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
So I'm like an hour before boarding is my minimum. And that is only because I have TSA pre. Otherwise I would get there like 2 hours before. I'm the opposite of you.
Okay. Fair enough.
So then they just began to delay my flight 30 minutes to an hour at a time from like 2:20 or 2:30 in the afternoon all the way down until like 9:50. And so my flight from Chicago to Dayton, I got pushed back. Initially, I was supposed to leave on that one at like 8, and then I got the later one, which was maybe like 9:30, and that was the latest one. And then eventually it looked like I wasn't even going to be able to make that, so I was up there talking to the gate agent, and I figured with bad weather in the Midwest, if I could make it to Chicago and spend the night in Chicago, I'd still probably be better off than just being stuck in Wichita. So I was talking to the gate agent, and I was like, now this airplane was supposed to arrive at 1 o'clock, and you're telling me it's now going to arrive at 9 o'clock. Is the crew still going to have any duty time left? And the gate agent was like, oh, yeah, it'll be fine. Yep, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
The airplane had been stuck in Denver all day. And so so I was like, yeah, they must have just like given him a new crew like halfway through the day. That's fine. And so then let's see, that's all. So at like 8:30, they come on and they say, oh, good news. Your airplane is in the air. It'll be here at 9:30 and we'll quickly get it deplaned and clean so we can get you on your way. And I'm thinking, okay, well, at least it's finally getting here. And then it lands, and it's now, because the airport's basically shut down, we're like the last flight of the night. It's very easy to tell that our airplane is taxiing in. So I'm watching it taxi in, and the gate agent says, good news, the airplane's here. We should have you up in the air, very soon or whatever. It was only after all the people had deplaned that the gate agent was like, so it turns out, unfortunately, and I'm very disappointed with my own company for this, but the pilots have no time left. And we were all like, I say all, the 13 of us that were left for this 76-seat flight, we're all like, really? Are you kidding me?
Did she not understand my question earlier?
Yeah. So that was a big disappointment and a huge waste of a day, because by the late afternoon, I was texting with my wife, and she was like, well, do you want me to come get you? And I was like, man, I wish they would just like delay this thing 2 hours at a time instead of an hour at a time, because then you could at least like come pick me up and with the boys, and we could go to dinner, and then you could bring me back or whatever. But no, they like made it as inconvenient as possible. But after that, the next day I got on the early flight, had a relatively uneventful trip all the way to Dayton. Had a good session of work stuff happen at Dayton, and got home also uneventfully. So the rest of it was pretty good. Didn't get a chance to go to the museum in Dayton this time because I went to it just a couple weeks ago in December, and I'm going back out there probably next week. So might be another opportunity to go if I.
Yeah, you're going to be out there in February.
Probably unlikely, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you going to be out there in February?
One of the trips that I bid for February, I haven't gotten the results yet, but I think one of them is a Dayton layover.
I bet you didn't bid any Wichita, did you?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
You haven't been to Wichita in ages.
Toronto? No. I don't know anybody in Toronto.
Only Charlotte.
Charlotte may have been one of the ones that, I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah. Excellent. Anything else, Nick?
I'm trying to think about it. I don't think so. I haven't flown in ages. I actually need to go back and, well, no, that's not true. So the day that I passed the power plant, I was going to say I may have run out of currency, but the day that I passed the power plant, I went out and flew the Luscombe a bunch because the weather was nice, and it was going out of annual at the end of the year. So in standard fashion with old airplanes, I got my AMP, or I finished the AMP at like 11 a.m. and by 7 p.m. we had the Luscombe taken apart, and we're like, oh man, old airplane issues. We have a low cylinder, and we have a couple other things we have to deal with. But now I can sign it off.
Now you can
if I want to.
Yeah,
I don't have to.
Cool.
That's the other. So that's what I was telling everybody else. Is everybody said, "Oh, are you so excited?" and all this and all that, and I was like, it really doesn't change anything at all. Like.
Not now.
I'm still going to do all the work. My dad's still going to look at everything. Basically, all it saves is whenever my dad decides that he doesn't want to have anything to do with airplanes anymore, I will not have to get out of aviation due to the prohibitive cost of maintenance, which he's told me. So it's 3 years to get inspection authorization, which is the next level up. So A&P can do everything except for major repairs, major alterations, and sign off annuals, basically. And to get an inspection authorization, you have to be a practicing A&P for 3 years. And so my dad's like, all right, the clock started January 1 of 2026.
That's his retirement date.
Yep. He's like, I'm done with everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Liz, I have been busy out there flying. Finished up the trip that I was on when we recorded the last show. I was in Harrisburg, and Rebecca Saylor was my in-studio audience member. It was very nice meeting up with you, Rebecca, if you're watching or listening. And thank you for the pizza and the salad. That salad was really good, by the way, that she stuck in the refrigerator and had that after the show. So I got home on Friday. On Saturday, I had lunch with my youngest daughter, Natalie, to celebrate Christmas and our birthdays, mine on the 26th of December and hers on the 31st. And after lunch, we went, did some big screen TV shopping over at Costco. And we were looking at the big 65-inch televisions. And our number one criteria was to find one that had the smallest box that would actually fit in the trunk of my car and go through that little, pass-through area when you put the back seats forward. Mm-hmm. And we kept going, I think this one is probably the shortest one. And so we were doing all this stuff like with a cart and like up and
like
like standing measure? Up next to it. Well, after we did all that, then Natalie says, "Oh, Dad, there's a tape measure right there." Darn it. But then we used it and confirmed all of our very crude measurements before. But so bought her a really nice Sony Bravia 65-inch, really much nicer than the TV that I had been using, as my background last year or the year before.
Is it an OLED?
No, it's not an OLED. It wasn't that nice.
Okay.
Have you guys seen my super high-tech TV?
Oh yeah, that's nice. This one we got was a little bit bigger, and a little bit flatter.
4x3, very retro.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
that one's kind of like a cockroach. After
it's
the
never going to die.
It's still going to be working.
Yeah, it's never going to die. Solid. The VCR works too. So there's that.
Anyway, so she was happy. We were able to fit it in the car and get it over to her apartment and get it all set up. And then I I drove off and up to Roswell for a sing-in at the Vigil Mass on Saturday. Sunday, did all my normal singing stuff. And then Monday through Wednesday, I was out on another trip, 3-day trip with Brent. And we flew up to Newark, and we were supposed to go to Newark, back to Atlanta, then Newark layover. And I was going to meet up with Sam Dawson, one of the APG community members that has met up with Captain Nick over there in the UK. And, is he in the chat?
He was in the chat room earlier. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Sam. Sorry it didn't work out. Well, anyway, we were getting ready to push back for our flight back to Atlanta. And the tug driver came on and said something about some kind of liquid in the nose wheel area. And we're going, that doesn't sound right. So he goes, luckily they have maintenance there. So they came out, took a look at it, we're kind of waiting to see what they were going to find. And there was a hydraulic leak on the nose wheel cylinder. And so that's no good. So we kind of sat around, waited for them to make some kind of a decision what they were going to do. And they were going to fly up apart from Atlanta on the flight that we were supposed to come back from Atlanta to Newark on, which obviously we didn't do because we were still in Newark. And so we ended up finally deadheading to Atlanta, got into Atlanta about 4:30, 5 o'clock or so, and had a domicile layover. And we decided that we'd ask if we could get a hotel in Atlanta near the airport, which we did.
Is that a camel with two humps?
Yes, a domicile. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. You use the word domicile, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not often.
Not often.
About as often as I use dromedary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so this is great because we were trying to figure out where we were going to have barbecue on this trip. And so we know places near the airport that have barbecue. So we ended up going to Brent's pickup truck and driving to the hotel in his truck, parked there, changed, and then drove over to the barbecue place, had some good barbecue. What was it called? Big Pit Boss Barbecue on Virginia Avenue.
Did anyone else think that for half a second Jeff was going to say Brent just had a bunch of barbecue ready to go in his
that would have been
truck?
impressive.
Yeah,
that would have been impressive.
I was just waiting for that.
Yeah, he had it all wrapped in foil. Just had to heat it up in the
yeah.
Yeah.
Like food truck box, just ready to go.
That would be nice. Yeah. We'll have to talk about that. See if we can upgrade his truck. Anyway, then after that, we went back to the hotel, and Monday night was the NCAA, National Collegiate Athletics Association, I believe is what that stands for. Championship game. In other words, the college football championship. The University of Georgia Bulldogs were in the game with Texas Christian University, TCU, and they just walloped TCU. It was like 65-7, the final score. But we watched that at the hotel, and next day we were supposed to go, from Newark to Atlanta and then Omaha, but all we had to do was just kind of sleep a little bit later and go to the airport and fly one flight to Omaha, and had a nice long layover there, and no barbecue over there. And then the NOTAMs kicked in the next morning, but again, we pretty much were unscathed by the whole thing. And that was it. So it was a really easy trip, one leg per day, which is my kind of trip. And short, not a 10-hour leg or whatever. And that was it. So this morning I sang at a funeral at my church. Wasn't mine. And here we are on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Go back out again on Sunday night, which is kind of not normal for me, but it's one of those trips where you fly one leg somewhere and then you have all the next day off. So it's like a 30-hour layover. And this is Burlington, Vermont, a very pretty place. Although I'm not sure I'm going to really get out and see much of it because it's supposed to be like the high is like 21 or something, which is like what? That's about -6, I think, Celsius. And yeah, and then of course that's the high, I think. So I would imagine we'll probably be staying inside the hotel the entire time and hunkering down. Yeah, and then the next day, anyway. So it's a 4-day trip altogether. Get back on Wednesday. So that's it for me. All right, all right. Let's talk about coffee and the coffee fund.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the John and me. A cup. I wish you guys could hear Liz. Oh, that sounds so nice. Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially. And a couple of different ways to do that. The first, of course, is the Coffee Fund Classic method. Mostly one-offs, every once in a while kind of contributions. We do have some recurring contributors using the Classic method, and we do thank you very much for your continued support. Ms. Karim, who uses this one-off quite often, about once a month. So thank you, Mazoots, for your continuing generous donations. And we also have something called Patreon. You can become a patron of the show via Patreon. We have a new producer. His name, AJ Schramm. Well, I say his. It could be a female. AJ Schramm is a new producer. And we do appreciate you signing up, sir. And if you're interested to find out more about the Coffee Fund, please head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee and join us. You'll be glad you did. And we will too. Exactly an hour to get back through this feedback. Well, I hope I have a little bit more because I need to use the bathroom. And then we'll hit the feedback sounder when I get back. And in the meantime, Captain Nick will probably entertain you because he has already had his physiological break, I'm assuming. Nope.
Wait,
Yeah,
come back.
You can hide. He can hide from the audience, but he can't hide from us. We still see you. He's laughing. Well, I guess it's just Liz. Steph. There we go.
Oh, don't leave me alone.
Oh, look, everybody's here. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, who did that? Who did that?
I don't know.
I did.
There's someone who is more
as I
powerful
get a
here than
chance.
all of us. So, and her name is Liz.
Yeah.
What are you drinking, Nixie?
I'm drinking. This was given to me for
Melted
Christmas.
snowman. That looks good.
Trying to get the
Cinnamon. Is that what it says with cinnamon?
cinnamon
Winter.
and nutmeg.
Ooh, I bet that's good.
Looks
It
like
is
that
pretty good.
snowman's just lost his virginity.
Winter warmer ale.
What? Let me see the picture again. I was reading the words. Nick's looking at the. Oh well, you know.
I can't get it to.
He's a little.
I'm trying to get it to focus. There we go.
Yeah.
He's a little melted. Yes.
A little melted. A little spent.
Wheatstone Brewery. This I assume is down by Austin because my sister gave it to me. Cedar Park, Texas, wherever that is.
I'm drinking my usual standby, although a taller can than normal.
Oh right. Okay. So you're on doubles today. Well done.
I've only had about this much of it, to be fair. Yeah, just enjoying it slowly. No rush on the drinking on it.
Man, I've been so particular about trying to say turbine because one of my buddies is a propulsion guy and he gives me so much grief for saying turbine.
Yeah, but everybody says turbine here.
Well, apparently not Captain Nick.
Well, Captain Nick
no,
isn't
exactly
here.
right. It's a turbine.
Turbine.
It doesn't have an A in it unless you're going to put it on your head. Then it's a turbine.
But how do you pronounce the thing that you throw your trash into?
A garbage bin.
Oh, I guess.
Dustbin.
There's an E on the end of the word. So
That doesn't really work, stuff.
I know. I had to think about spelling for a second.
Vietnam's
Checkmate
calling.
in 2 moves.
Yeah, no. Oh, no. I think I'm
So
better,
what do you put your garbage in?
The trash.
Trash can.
Which clearly rhymes with turbine.
Now we see her point. Let's see. What is Acme trying to assign me here?
They're giving you a trip, are they?
Yeah, I got a slip in, but I'm being very picky, and I don't know. Unless it's something just amazing, I'm probably not going to accept anything.
Neil's having a non-alcoholic month.
Dry January.
I had a non-alcoholic day, Neil.
I've had a couple of non-alcoholic hours.
Yeah.
I failed on January 2nd for dry January. So.
Now, Tim, I didn't see any passengers to pee on.
No, just Hilal's feet.
Sorry, Hillel. Oh, you know what? I forgot.
Nixie is gone. Yes.
Uh-oh. No, I see him right there.
I'm afraid something
Just not
horrible is
moving.
happening.
I forgot to mention something. I'm going to be making a little trek next week after I get back from my trip.
A trek?
A trek to see a truck. Well, not really a truck, but a truck with a camper box on it. I'm going to an RV show in Tampa.
Excellent. Will they have an example of yours?
Yes, that's why I'm going. They'll have one that's almost identical except for the exterior color.
Where'd you say, Tampa?
Tampa, yeah. Mm-hmm. Tampa Super RV. Oh yeah, the Liz is saying, and you can buy it. So yeah, my RV guy, who is at a Gerzani's, I think is the name, Gerzani's RV World in Lakeland, which is very close to Tampa.
Home of Sun and Fun, yeah.
Yeah, that's where they have Sun and Fun. But the RV show's at the Florida State Fairgrounds in the Tampa area, and so he goes, he said, Jeff, there's they made one for the show in all the different floor plans, including the one that you want, the corner bed, and he said, I think it's pretty much identical to what you want, and the only thing it wasn't was the exterior color. And he goes, but if you want it, for $20,000 more, you can have it on the 22nd. And I went, that's okay. I've waited this long. I don't think 20,000. And plus,
I was going to say, If you said 20,000 less, then you go.
Oh yeah, that'd be
okay.
nice. Yeah, so all these people are crawling all over it.
Yeah,
I know.
all these people
That's
have
what I'm
been
thinking.
touching it. And...
Yeah. No, it's
Germs.
20,000 more.
More?
More.
More.
Because the reason is these things are so popular
No,
and
wait.
in such demand. You know, I've been waiting since April of 2021. So it's coming up on this April will be 2 years. And there are people out there that want one of these things and they want it right away. So, I mean, 20,000, you know, is like 10% of the cost of these things.
Now.
I want it now. Anyway, I said, yeah, no, thank you. I think I'll wait. And plus, I just signed the lease for this place until April. And I'm thinking, then I'd have this thing. And what do I do with, so I think it's just going to complicate things if I get it early. And I don't want one that had all kinds of people with their
germs,
grubby hands all over it.
Snot.
Just want to put your grubby hands on it.
Their dirty
Someone who's
bottoms sitting on
all the surfaces for some reason. Tried the lav, the toilet.
It might have some nice spec. It might have gold taps or something.
Yeah, Nixie's having computer issues. And he's going to rejoin
looks like
when
a
he can.
blue screen of death situation going on there.
Yeah.
Buy a Mac.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
that's one.
awaiting our,
That's one solution. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that trip next week, and we'll tell you all about it on the next show, probably. Okay.
I think Liz is trying to move us along here.
She
put
is.
the feedback.
Okay. Here we go.
Up on the,
Okay, I get it. Here we go.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, let's start off our feedback with this from Matt. He says, my feedback, corrections, and updates. Hello again, airline pilot guys and gals. If you don't remember me, I'm a community member who recently gave a lengthy history about some old aviators I'm related to. I have some corrections, this time to my statements, not yours. As an aside, I've always been under the impression that 10% truth is the requirement for flying tales, as one shouldn't let the truth get in the way of a good story. True. Then again, I was raised by a fighter jock, so if I were a smart man, I'd probably be questioning more of what I've been told. Yes, we know Captain Nick, and that's good advice.
Right.
And you know what? Just because, the 50%, we shoot for the 50% guarantee, that's not just for the crew, that's for the entire community. So
we hold everyone to the same standard.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
50%.
We've upped our
standards. Up yours.
Exactly.
So finally, after much prodding, my dad listened to a podcast. Lucky for me, it was the APG episode with my feedback about him and his dad and how he and my nephew are in training. Best yet was that he listened to it on Christmas, so it almost passed as a gift. That is until you claimed that the NTSB should ask him about the DC-10 he was flying after Al Haynes. He thought that was funny, actually. He doesn't remember if he flew that plane or that trip the day or several days before, but he does remember he was close enough to it that it made his hair stand a bit, and he was first officer, not engineer. So the NTSB, best look elsewhere. Another note, that's nice, he's defending his dad. On another note, more on my end than yours is that the 123 STS is a special tactics squadron with PJs, which are pararescue soldiers, and CCT, combat control team support. So basically, he was a jumper dumper at the end of his ANG career, Air National Guard career.
Woohoo!
A fellow jumper dumper.
We like jumper dumpers here.
Yeah, we do. Last, I'd like to add an update. Last week, I completed and passed my commercial single engine land check ride.
Yay! Well done, sir. Congratulations.
Woohoo! After
Great
12
achievement.
years away from flying, it took me about 13 months of study and flying to brush up and get the ticket. I'm just happy, that the winds aloft at 2,000 feet were plus 50 knots with surface gusts to 28, since that gave me a knot or two and foot or two consideration on my performance. If anything, it made for pretty sporty 8s on pylons. Yeah, I bet it was. 157 knot ground speed may not sound
Sorry,
like much
you're
to
going to
you.
have to explain that to me. What's an 8 on a
It's
pylon?
a performance
Commercial maneuver.
Maneuver where basically you're drawing kind of this like figure 8 around the ground, and it's based on. I'm going to get all of it wrong.
2 points on the ground.
2 points on the ground.
Pylons.
And speed and temperature and altitude and.
What?
You know
What
what?
on earth for?
I'm not going to explain it right now because I'm going to get it 100% wrong because it's been many years since I've done 8s on pylons, and I'm not a CFI.
Well, you probably get. Oh, look at that! Oh, Liz, come on, that's harsh.
Hey, you know what? Hold on, stand by.
Oh no! Now we're going to have Miami staff.
Is this a practical flying test? You have to fly a figure of 8 over a pair of pylons.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah,
Well,
but
what
there are no pylons out there. Well, I guess maybe. Yeah. I guess if you're like over,
so they're all Red Bull.
They're pylons.
if you're in
that you
Reno,
pick.
there might be some pylons out
They're
there.
pylons that you pick.
Yeah.
Of your choosing.
You pick a pylon.
It's like a virtual pylon that you say that's a pylon and that's a pylon, and then you do your 8s. In my case, crazy 8s.
You know what? I would have been thrilled if like the wind was super crazy, or especially like gusty and a little bumpy, because then you have an excuse for having crappy 8s on pylons.
Are you? Are you allowed to just wing it, or do you have to work it out beforehand and fly?
You have to be able to
headings
give like the formula for the
timings?
altitude that you're supposed to fly it at, and yeah.
I don't remember any of that.
See,
I did do a commercial single engine check ride though near Jackson, Mississippi.
Good Lord.
And I did do those 8s. That was right.
You know, back in 2015, I knew this stuff, and I just
I did mine in
dig myself into a big hole.
88 or something like that.
But you know what? I've never once used in my commercial flying career 8s on pylons.
What practical value do they have?
It's just to show that a lot of it's to do with how you handle the aircraft and your smoothness in handling the aircraft and understanding of the performance of the aircraft.
Can you?
It's
use
not something that you're
6G
going
turns?
to. No, steep turns
Why
aren't
not?
6Gs. No.
Okay.
Boring. Lame.
Okay. Where were we?
I'm intrigued.
Okay. Before you were so rudely interrupted me, Captain Nick. If anything, it made for pretty sporty 8s on pylons. 157 knot ground speed may not sound like much to you, but in a 172, hot damn.
Good job.
Oh, okay. Now we're looking
I knew
at something.
I've been cleaning out stuff, and I found my commercial pilot practical test standards. So continue, and I will.
Okay.
Unless,
okay.
Yeah,
We'll have the real answer here.
Yes.
Wow.
If Liz allows it. I wish I could invite you all to the brewery. I act as
That'd be one of
brewmaster.
my pylons. The brewery.
The brewery, yes.
Yes.
Or maybe designate a couple inside the brewery.
Yeah,
and then start
definitely, yeah.
making figure 8s inside.
Yeah.
It gets easier the more you have to drink.
Definitely.
It's just naturally you just walk like that. Yeah. But sadly, I don't believe I'll be there when you're around, when you'd be around. Hopefully I'll be flight instructing by the time any of you make it to the area anyhow, since I still have 1,100 hours to fly before I can get a, quote, real job. Nonetheless, if you find yourselves in the Chicago area, please let me know. I do have a little sway in the brewery business around here. Yeah, you hearing that stuff?
Well, I have a bit of sway when I'm in a brewery.
A lot of sway.
Yes.
Did you find the answer?
I did actually.
right.
So I'm gonna. So okay, this is gonna be very brief. I promise, Liz. 8s on pylons. The point. So a lot of it is you have to determine the approximate pivotal altitude. The formula of which is you square the ground speed,
altitude,
divide by 15 if you use miles per hour, or 11.3 if you prefer knots, and that provides your starting altitude.
I don't
You have to
remember
select
that part.
suitable pylons that will permit straight and level flight between the pylons. Enter the maneuver at that altitude that you determined, and then bank angle of approximately 30 to 40 degrees at the steepest point. Apply corrections so light of sign reference remains on the pylon, and divide your attention accurately for coordination of airplane control and outside visual references. Holds pylon, so turning around the pylon without slipping or skidding.
I'm
just a
just confused
performance
about the altitude bit because I assumed it was just a horizontal maneuver.
That's
so
all
you
I
just
did.
fly level.
I guess determining the altitude is where you use all the mathematical formula, right?
Correct.
Well,
Correct.
just
Because you want to do
pick
it
an
at
altitude.
pivotal altitude.
Yeah, but I don't remember doing that part of it. I just kind of was out of the altitude, and I just started doing the eights around.
That's
the
all I'm
pylon.
going to talk about it because that's all that's in the practical test standard.
Wow.
Doesn't talk about any of. It's not the theory part of it, just the house.
I'm confused. And what's this dividing by 11.5? What
11.3.
pilot can do that?
11.3. You can't do that in your head?
I can't divide by 15 either.
Are you allowed to use a calculator? I hope.
Yeah, you can use a calculator.
Wow. Should I read this next part?
You can read the
Steph?
next part. That's fine.
Okay. He said he didn't know if Dr. Steph wants to talk about it, where she's from on the air. But I currently live in Aurora, Illinois, and fly out
suburb
of
of
K
Chicago.
Delta
Excellent.
Papa Alpha, DPA.
DuPage.
DuPage. I thought it was some kind of a double IPA or something. Just wondering if the skating rink you spoke of recently is on Farnsworth. I grew up in Bloomingdale and played hockey at Carroll Stream Ice Rink and others growing up.
Indeed, Carroll Stream Ice Rink. Ding.
Wow.
I know.
Really?
Small world. Yep, for sure.
Awesome.
I grew up also playing hockey and figure skating at the Carroll Stream Ice Rink.
I
And that's where
thought
I was recently.
Bloomingdale's was a department store.
It is.
This guy
It's also
really
a town,
grew up
a suburb
in one of those.
of Chicago.
No, Elf did. No, that wasn't Bloomingdale's, was it? That was a different
Macy's?
department store. No, it wasn't Macy's either.
You live in such a
it's a department
confusing
store.
country.
I just can't remember the name of it. I know that our live audience will be able to answer that question. Elf, the movie, the department store that he was living in for a short period of time. Wasn't Bloomingdale's, wasn't Macy's, but we're going to find out soon. Anyway, thanks again to you all. Talons Douglas, and this is Matt Volker. Thank you, Matt. Sorry we made your
Very
feedback
funny, Matt.
stretch
That
so
was great
long.
fun. Enjoyed that.
But now everybody knows what 8-on pylons are.
Gimbals?
Well, I sort
Nick
of
doesn't.
do, but I still don't believe you.
Yeah. Nick still doesn't.
Okay. Liz says it's Gimbals department store.
Gimbals.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you,
Hang
Matt.
on a minute. A gyroscope has gimbals.
Yeah.
How can a
Oh, boy.
department store have gimbals?
Okay. All right. What was I going to say? Oh, congrats again, Matt. I'm sorry, being distracted by Nika. Anyway, congratulations on the commercial check ride, and we look forward to hearing more about your journey. And I hope, well, in a way, I kind of hope that you don't get a new job too soon, because I'd love to check out the brewery. And you know.
Absolutely. We're going to hear plenty from him because he's got 1,100 hours to fly.
Oh, okay. Well, then we got
that'll
it.
mean a lot of feedback.
And he's in Chicagoland.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice place. They got
It's
good
lovely
dogs.
flying weather this time of year.
Oh yeah, very nice. Oh, that's weird. So I have this window, the Evernote window, covering up the StreamYard window, and Nick C just did was peeking around doing something there on the side of his screen. It looked like you were peering around the other way. Looked like you were peering around my window and thinking, oh, that's kind of odd looking.
Creepy.
How did he know that there was a window there? Yes. Are you trying to get my attention? Okay. Let's move on to some feedback from Sam.
Yes.
Sam Dawson, the guy that I was supposed to meet up with in Newark. And apparently we should call him Miami Sam. You'll see why in a minute. Let me, Liz already has the crickets up. Let's see. I have to reload this video file because I've learned my lesson. And
mine
there
worked
was a
fine.
Video, I know, but
that's what she said.
I had mine. I had mine up for a while longer than yours.
Awesome.
Well played.
Thank you.
You know, if it stays up for too long, you're supposed to go and see a doctor.
4 hours.
And then 4 hours. I'm still saying.
Good thing we have a doctor on staff.
I would call all my
that's
friends. Brag.
I'm not taking a look.
Yeah, 4 hours. All right. Greetings, APG crew. In episode 549, you discussed the Mi-17 crash in Russia and asked if anyone could clarify the possible cause of vortex ring state. I started my aviation career as a U.S. Army helicopter pilot and even had the opportunity to fly the Mi-17 in the early 1990s after the fall of the Soviet Union. The reason I got to fly the Mi-17 was a story in itself. Initially, I was given a choice assignment, command of an ATC air traffic control training unit. This was a non-flying assignment, and I was trying to find a way of getting out of it that did not involve leaving the military. Declining the assignment was an end to your career, and the previous two captains honored with this assignment chose to resign rather than take it. Finally, a line was tossed to me when a tasking came down asking for captains to volunteer for a UN assignment in Africa. I figured that while this was a non-flying assignment, it would give me a 6-month reprieve to find something else. Off I went to the Western Sahara Desert. It was an assignment not covered by any instruction I had as a cadet, my officer basic course, or my captain's course. My boss was a Russian lieutenant colonel. My senior boss was a Chinese communist colonel. Wow. The mission commander was a British SAS brigadier general. We actually had an Argentine IA-58 Pucara pilot with the mission who was shot down during the Falkland Island War and captured by the SAS Brigadiers Unit. Wow. Small world.
Don't I know you? You seem familiar.
That's crazy.
I wonder what their HR unit was like.
They just threw their hands up and they're like, oh, sort it out.
I don't know. My team site consisted of 15 officers from all over the world, including Russian officers aside from my team site boss, who were Afghan war vets, cats and dogs sleeping together. Our air support was provided by Russian Mi-17 helicopters. At one point, my boss asked me if I wanted to fly the Mi-17. Of course, I responded that I would love the opportunity, but I added that I did not think the pilots would permit it. He laughed. Silly American. I am Russian lieutenant colonel. If I say you fly Mi-17, you fly Mi-17. So, okay. So I got to know the Russian pilots and get some stick time in the Mi-17. I also learned one of my 3 politically incorrect lessons of the UN. Don't drink with the Russians. They drank vodka like it was water, and their idea of 12 hours bottle to throttle meant something different than it does in the West. I thought it was only 8. Yeah, I think they liked me flying with them as they knew at least one crew member would be sober.
Oh, God.
The Mi-17 is a good airframe, something between the UH-60 and the CH-47 in the U.S. It is rugged, but the Russians did not put much into cockpit ergonomics or crew survivability. As an example, though 5-point harnesses have been standard in Western military aircraft for some time, the Mi-17 only had lap belts for the pilots. Wow. The flight engineer sat on a folding bench jump seat between the pilots and lacked even a lap belt. So in a crash sequence, he was going out the forward window. I think the Russians say "sabda," their version of "c'est la vie." But I digress. Vortex ring state. Nerd alert, he says. Oh, come on. It's not loading. Hang on. Nerd alert. I know it's going to apply here in just a second. Okay. I'm going to go over here and... Wait, what's going on here? Who playing that?
It's not myself,
you were.
Nick A or Nick C.
Don't look at me. I didn't do a thing.
Okay. Well, just hang on to that thought. We're just pausing for a moment while Captain Jeff finds the sound effect that he had inserted into Evernote to play in a timely fashion. But as you can see, that did not work out very well. Now I have to find it in the soundboard. And that usually doesn't take long. That's what she said. The opposite of 4 hours. Nerd alert. Come on, I know you're here somewhere. Okay, found it. But I digress. Vortex ring state. Nerd alert.
Nerd alert!
All right. All that for that little sound clip.
So worth it.
First, let's talk about the basics of helicopter control, since many may not understand this. The cyclic, or stick, controls the tilt of the rotor system. Yeah, you can leave it there. Push the cyclic forward, the rotor system tilts forward, left, it tilts left, right, etc. The collective is on the left. It controls the angle of incidence of the rotor system. Pull the collective up, the angle of incidence increases. Push down, and it decreases. In modern helicopters, the collective is also tied to the engines. So as you change the angle of incidence with collective, power from the engines changes as well. In older helicopters, you had to do this manually with a throttle on the collective. Yeah, like a little twist, like a hand grip twist thing, like a motorcycle throttle, I think. Let's see. Pedals on helicopters are anti-torque pedals, but function the same as pedals in the airplane as far as we're concerned. Push left, the nose goes left. Push right, nose goes right. There's more to it. And as with an airplane, doing something with one control involves doing something with the others. But I see Nick is nodding off already. So back to vortex ring state. Below in picture A, okay, yeah, go ahead and I guess put that up, Liz, thanks. Is the normal lift distribution of a helicopter at hover. Since the rotor tips have a greater velocity than the hub portion of the blade, more lift is normally created at the tips of the hub. Created at the tips than the hub. The rotor blades are normally twisted, with the inner portion having a higher angle of incidence, thus a higher angle of attack than the tips, somewhat evening out the lift distribution. In some conditions, however, this means that portions of the inner blades may be exceeding their critical angle of attack, which we see in picture B. You can also see tip vortices in both pictures. As with any airfoil creating lift, you can't escape vortices. In some situations, normally a near vertical descent of about 500 feet per minute with some power, you can get into a situation illustrated by the bottom picture. A second vortices forms at the hub, increasing the angle of attack beyond the critical angle of attack, causing a stall region to form. If a pilot does not recognize that this is happening and only increases collective a little in an attempt to arrest the descent, this actually increases the strength of the vortices, increases the stall region of the rotor system, and increases the rate of descent. The descent can increase rapidly, so when a pilot in a vortex ring state overcomes the startle factor, then realizes what's happening and what to do, it's often too late. When I started flying helicopters, the recovery for a vortex ring state was to lower the collective while applying forward cyclic to fly out of it. The problem with this recovery is that it required a bit of altitude, something which you often did not have once the pilot recognized that was happening. Recently, a Swiss helicopter instructor by the name of Vouchard came up with a different and much more effective recovery method named, for some reason, the Vouchard recovery. This recovery involves left or right cyclic, depending on the direction of the rotor system turn, affecting a side step while raising collective. This gets you out of the vortices with minimal altitude loss. If you advance the attached video to the 220 point, there's an outstanding visual demonstration of both vortex ring state and the Vouchard recovery method. Okay, so we're going to now go over to 220, I'm hoping. Let's see, 220. Here we go. Fingers crossed. Why is it not playing? Gosh darn it. StreamYard. Come on. All right, all we're getting is blank screen. Well, okay, we're going to try it one more time. Yeah, it's not doing well for us tonight, is it? Okay, here we go. I'm just going to hit play just to get it going. Okay. And cool music. And then 220. Oh, we got something. All right, here we go. Some pretty swirly vortices forming on this helicopter that's in a slight descent. Now everything is really starting to increase, and we're starting to see the rotor hub in the middle, and then the thing is really decreased. So I guess they're doing the maneuver right now
It was kind of a side step.
recover.
Yeah, he did a nice side step. It kind of broke the symmetry of that cycle of air, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's cool with the just having that visual. So if you're just listening, we're watching this helicopter doing what was just described with that 500 foot per minute descent, but they've got kind of a spray applicator system, which gives a visual representation of what the vortices are doing.
Very
the
neat.
blades. Yeah, it's cool.
And it's stunning scenery apart from anything else.
I got some slow motion replays going on here.
But this is why you never want to be a helicopter pilot.
Way too many moving parts.
It's just one reason.
Yeah, one of the many reasons why you shouldn't be a helicopter pilot.
How about a Russian helicopter pilot?
Well, they don't go that fast to be Russian, do they?
I get it. Here's some footage of the actual controls of the pilot.
I reckon he's just stirring the pot.
Well,
do you think you stick that picture of the that it was very impressive of the three states A, B, and C up again? I'm looking at the direction of the arrows, and when the rotor appears to be stalled, the arrows are pointing upwards, which is the direction lift goes. So I'm just a wee bit confused about that, because lift appears to be acting downwards.
Yeah,
and,
the way they've drawn
no
it is
lift
with
appears to be acting upwards in opposition of the rate of descent. So I'm going to poo-poo your pictures, old chap.
I don't think
Think
that's
about
lift,
how a
though,
helicopter works.
No, I can't.
Which direction are you? Which direction are you trying to move?
I don't think anyone can. They make it all up. It's all unicorns and fairy dust.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Really? That you got lift going upwards?
It's not lift. So the lift is actually what's
It's
coming.
vortices.
It's
if you imagine,
more...
if you imagine that the arrows are the direction the force is being applied, right?
Yes.
So like,
yeah,
the rotor.
We don't represent forces like that. Forces go in the direction they're acting.
Right. No, I agree.
And that
we're
is the
just
direction
explaining
that
to you
they're
how
acting.
the picture works.
Yeah.
Well,
because the helicopter wouldn't have something
intuitively
pulling it
understand what he's trying to get at.
Yes.
But I'm just going, you need to point the red arrows downwards and the green arrows upwards, and then I'll be happy.
You could do it that way too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Art department. Get on that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, very good.
The
Apart
people
from
that are
that,
at this
very good. I'm
people
very
in
impressed.
this apartment complex are probably, what is that new guy yelling at?
What a weirdo.
Yeah. What a weirdo. Yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. Let me continue with Sam's, what do they call that when you get a doctorate?
Dissertation?
Dissertation.
Master's degree.
Yeah. Now, I did not say at any point settling with power, which is also mentioned in the article as a cause, and it is made to sound synonymous with a vortex ring state. The FAA considers them to be the same, but throughout the rest of the world, there is a difference. Settling with power is when the helicopter has too much mass, too little altitude, and thus too little time to stop a descent. This would be similar to an airplane landing, but not having enough reverse thrust to stop forward movement. In settling with power, the descent rate slows, but the aircraft continues to descend. The big difference here is that in vortex ring state, the rate of descent increases, while in settling with power, the descent slows but does not stop. I'm not sure which one was a factor in this accident. We were talking about that in the previous show, the MI-17 accident. Let's see. I guess show that second pretty picture there, Liz, in the slides. Isn't that pretty?
Oh, there you go. That's
Does
what
that
I
make
was
you
saying.
happier?
Unicorns and fairy dust.
Yeah. Let's see.
They've got great big arrows coming out the top of the shaft, out of the.
Yeah, but if you go back and watch the actual video, it's this.
And then all the other
moves
ones
the same
going around
way.
in circles. No wonder it doesn't work.
I thought the vortex ring was what you got after a really hot curry. Well, yeah, it's also a vortex ring. Okay, so Sam, finally, if you use this, now would be the appropriate time to wake up Nick.
I'd be wide awake.
Yeah, he didn't fall asleep because you were talking about
Unfortunately,
helicopters.
He's been wide awake.
I know, yes, sadly. I hope this was not
And
too
slightly
boring.
belligerent.
I have not flown helicopters much since retiring from the military in 2006, so another listener will probably find fault with my description and or have a better way of explaining
You're
it. Or
a very
Captain
sane
Nick
man.
will do that for you.
You've given up with helicopters. Good chap.
That was a great video, though. I really liked seeing how.
Yeah.
It's always very instructive for me to see things visually. You know.
I love the way they picked a really dark, shadowy piece of the mountain and then made sure they were in the sunlight when they put the water out of the sprays. So you got that fantastic contrast. Very good photography.
And great dramatic music to go along with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Sam, for that. Obviously, you put a lot of work into that feedback and giving us all those nice links and pictures and such.
Yeah, I like it. I didn't like your pictures much, but the rest of it was great.
I'm sure they're his pictures.
I think he did draw
hand drew them
himself.
Yeah. Did he? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Well, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Look at his representation of a helicopter. I mean,
it's better than I could do.
It's a
yeah. Look at that. That's a great helicopter.
No, that
looks like a
didn't do
Christmas
that
card
one.
to me.
He didn't do that one. He did the one that looks like a hot dog.
I think it's so funny that Nick just gets so bitter. So bitter just because it's a helicopter thing. I mean, I don't like
To be
helicopters
fair,
either.
helicopters aren't the only thing that he's bitter about.
Well,
That's
that's
true.
true. That's true.
Very true.
He's kind of bitter that he's actually on the show tonight.
In fact, if it's a Boeing helicopter, then that's particularly awful.
Liz
I think
thinks
we've
you might need to
awakened
go to bed.
the old curmudgeon. It's been a long time since we've really had the old curmudgeon around with us.
Liz, pick out one more thing. Nick's only going to be able to last for 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed.
Do we have more helicopter and or Boeing stories?
Sadly, we don't have any more helicopter stuff, but I'm sure there'll be something that will be unsavory. Number 5, Sam, double
another
go
Sam.
around. Another Sam Bolog. I just arrived at Burbank to pick up my 84-year-old neighbor. She called to tell me that they were diverted to Ontario because of visibility issues. While they were sitting at a gate, I could hear the captain explaining that every other airplane was able to land, but after 2 go-arounds, they decided to head on to Ontario. He did a very good job in explaining, and I could not hear any moaning in the background from the passengers. I mean, I'm thinking, yeah, well, every other airplane got in. I don't know why they had to do 2 go-arounds and they couldn't. No, he didn't say it that way, obviously. I told her that it was cool that they did 2 go-arounds, and she said, not for me. She's probably going to smack me on the head when she sees me. I'll let you know if she does tomorrow if I'm able to join the live taping. Is Sam with us on the live?
Haven't seen him.
Okay. She must have really smacked him in the head pretty hard then. Sorry, Sam. Oh, you know what? Since we're talking about go-arounds, why don't we skip down to number 9? And this is some feedback from Bill. And he said, Max Trescott, his outstanding podcast, Aviation News Talk podcast, talks with Ken Dravis, which we have mentioned many times on this show, as the composer and performer of the song "You Can Always Go Around" on this episode of his podcast. And then he gave us a link to the Aviation News Talk podcast, which will be in the show notes. We're not going to play it. You can do that. And if you are already not subscribed to Max's absolutely great aviation podcast, you should. So you can hear the story with the Go Around song from
I very
Ken
much
Dravis.
enjoyed listening to that, and the fact that Ken worked with John Denver, which I thought was brilliant.
I haven't listened to the entire podcast, Nick. Did he mention that aviation podcaster that contacted him many years ago to get permission to use his song?
Yeah, he said he's still looking for him with a one of those bits of paper in his hand that.
I know what that is. I've been served
subpoena.
before.
That's the one. Yes.
Okay. And
I was not aware of this episode, so I need to go and listen to it.
Yeah,
I'm
everybody
all
does.
over the place on my podcast
Yeah,
listening.
it's going to be right there in the show notes for all of you listening to the show right now. Check it out and subscribe. We'll continue. Oh, yes, ma'am. 6. All right. From Sim Captain Stone. Question about not serious emergencies. Hi, APG crew. Happy New Year, Happy Easter, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Pick the one that applies. In the past few months, I read about news about babies born during flight. One airplane went to an alternate, then continued the flight. My question is, what are your feeling about these kind of not so serious in-flight emergencies when they happen to you? Do you regard them as annoyances or something that spices up the boring workdays? I ask because I'm an IT guy, and I usually enjoy problems to be solved since they give challenges, and I have a good feeling after it that it was worth to wake up in the morning and I saved the world again. Do you have the same feeling after these kind of problems, or would you rather not have them? Keep the blue side down.
Huh?
Yeah, wait a minute. That's wrong. Cheers, Sim Captain Stone. Okay. Anybody want to chime in with what's your feeling about these not so serious in-flight emergencies? Are they annoyances?
I am generally, so we'll just take work days in general. So whether that's flying or my other day job, I prefer things to run quite smoothly. I don't, it's inevitable that occasionally things will not go smoothly. So you need to be prepared for those things. But I think I prefer the days where everything's kind of status quo. I like boring and routine.
I do too. I'm sign me up for boring.
Yeah, I agree. So as someone who has actually been involved in this scenario, not in an airplane, but in command of a car, when my wife gave birth to a child in the car, not really something
not cool.
I'd sign up for again.
Not spicy.
Yeah,
that does not sound like fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to be able to deal with those things when they arise, but I definitely prefer the days where it's status quo and routine and everything hums along smoothly.
Right. I'm sign me up with a group of people that I would rather, just avoid these kind of problems and, move on with my life. How about you, Captain Nick? Are you the one that seeks out these kind of serious or not so serious in-flight emergencies? You're muted, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, certainly not. They're usually just an annoyance and a lot of additional work, paperwork, etc. So, you turn what is a nice, pleasant and conventional flight into something that then requires, hassle and just extra time. If you get a major emergency, fine, that's usually fairly cut and dried. And what's more, your flight will usually terminate wherever you park the aeroplane, certainly for a good night's rest. If you're on a long-haul flight and you get hassles through minor problems, whether they be with the passengers or the aircraft, you can guarantee that you're going to be take you a lot longer to get into the hotel and get some well-deserved rest. You may have to extend your duty day to the absolute limits, and you'll just feel frustrated often and a bit annoyed that things didn't go smoothly. You're continually explaining to the passengers reasons for delay and for unusual procedures, etc. They're not often very patient if it's not a major thing. Major things, usually the passengers are absolutely fine. They just appreciate your efforts. The minor things, they just think they're a hassle for them to deal with because it's upsetting their travel plans usually. Interesting you mentioned giving birth, not that I've done that, on board during a flight, and I haven't actually had anyone give birth on my flights, but I was just trying to remind myself what nationality a baby born on board an aircraft is. I'm not certain whether it's the country you're flying over or the nationality of the airline you're flying with.
I feel like we've had this conversation before, and I don't remember the
remember.
answer. Or was it the nationality of the mother?
I'm not actually certain. If there's a legal expert, and I have a feeling it varies depending on the country of
the airspace that you're in,
the,
or the
the
country.
origin of the airline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, by the by, yes,
I remember
would
having
not
the
rather
discussion,
have
but I
those
don't think we ever came up to with a definitive answer.
We might have, but I feel like it was many episodes ago, and I don't remember.
Definitely don't want diversions, because usually then you're stuck somewhere waiting for weather to pick up or clear at your intended base. You're extending your duty day to the absolute maximum, so you stand a chance of refueling and taking off once that weather is improved, and it just makes the day hugely long and very frustrating. So no, diversions, you can kiss that off as far as I'm concerned.
So, Liz, did you say something about having an answer? Oh, hang on. We're going to bring you in.
Okay, so according to Google, it's birthright citizenship for children born on a plane or ship. If a child is born on a plane or ship registered in the USA or Canada, the child would acquire birthright citizenship. The child may acquire American or Canadian citizenship. Most countries in the world have abolished or introduced a restriction on the right of soil. Oh, it goes on and on here. So it sounds like you can opt for either the citizenship of the mother or the citizenship of the plane where the plane's registered.
Whichever one's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we have a definite limit when expectant mothers are allowed to fly, the number of weeks they've been pregnant, and they require a doctor's note if they're getting close to that limit, confirming the due date. And you're not allowed to fly within a certain number of weeks of that due date. And there is a particular country where we used to pick up a lot of pregnant ladies who presented their doctor's letters, and they looked hugely pregnant and frequently gave birth on board.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
we suspect
Nigeria.
But I wasn't going to say that. I was not going to say that. I was
we're just guessing. We're just throwing things out.
Speculating.
And we speculated it was so that their child had a different nationality from the one that they might have had otherwise.
Yes, the final thing on this is there is no universal rule for how a country determines the citizenship of a newborn. They're different rules, and countries choose what they want. So
there you go.
Do your research.
You guys are very generous. You hand about left, right, and centre. I'm very impressed.
Well,
sometimes.
That's the kind of people we are.
Have you thought of building a wall on these airplanes?
On the airplane.
There are. They're called bulkheads.
If you're after the bulkhead, you do not get birthright citizenship.
Yes.
Sorry.
You have to be forward of the bulkhead.
Fair enough.
That sounds awfully elitist and
discriminatory.
Anyway, before the lawyers get in touch here.
Thank you, Captain Stone, for your question. Steve says, and I'm going to read this very slowly. I agree with you, Jeff. All right, let's move on to the next. Oh, wait. I do not want to listen to someone on the phone on a commercial flight. I don't know anyone who wants to eliminate the last place you can be in quiet isolation during a workday or on vacation. Everyone I've ever spoken to loves the fact that when we're flying, they are reachable by phone. Apparently, there's somebody on the crew that disagrees with this. In the days before,
just with that one thing, the last place there've been phones on aircraft since the bloody 70s.
No one could afford to use them.
Yeah, nobody used them because they're too expensive.
Like $10 a minute or something.
Yeah, so
and you have to give your credit card. Sorry, and it was like some minimum charge, and
Yeah.
Okay, in the days before cell phones, driving was a quiet time, but today only flying gives us that peace. So many of us have clients or employers who expect us to be available 24/7, and flying has been our one escape where it's understood we are unreachable. I do not want that quiet time taken away. If someone needs to communicate from planes at the moment, they can pay for Wi-Fi and send texts and emails. Hopefully the airline I fly with, who recently removed all the seatback video displays to save a few dollars, will also see this technology as too expensive to install in their planes. I, for one, will still put on my headphones and put the phone on airplane mode. Thanks for continuing to produce such great shows. And this is from Steve Sanacore, or Sanacor, I'm not sure.
Well, I don't think Steve's making a bad point. I think if he wants to switch off, put his feet up and ignore his boss while he's flying around the world, when he could in fact be working and taking calls and, you know, being a productive member of the team, I quite...
I detect zero sarcasm in Captain Nick's
Sorry, Steve.
assessment of the situation.
If you want a quiet time in an airplane to drink a glass of wine, have a nice meal, and kick back in business class, I think you deserve it.
You do. And thank you for your feedback. And this is going to be it, folks. This feedback, number 10, from Vernon. Let's see. Getting home / Southwest debacle. And he sent us some audio feedback. He said, the final saga, getting home. Sorry, no jazz in the background. Hope the new year is good for you, or good to you. Fly safe, Vernon.
Greetings, Captain Jeff and crew. It's Vernon Tryon from Fort Morgan, Colorado. I last sent you a feedback on your birthday when I was marooned in San Diego, and I hope nobody had a lot of sympathy for me being marooned in San Diego. Thought I'd give you the follow-up on our getting back to Colorado. In review, Southwest, as they were falling apart, canceled our Sunday night or Christmas night flight. That was rescheduled for Tuesday, which fortunately they canceled that one well over 24 hours before that flight, so we had some time to make some hotel reservations and so on. And then finally was able to book a United flight from San Diego to Denver on Wednesday night after Christmas. And that was an interesting flight. It was in the 737 MAX, and we arrived in Denver in a blizzard. The captain was great with the PAs. You could hear them, you could understand what he was talking about. And we knew it was going to snow in Denver, but I think more happened to that storm than really anybody knew. And as we were approaching Denver, he said that we were going to have to enter a holding pattern because the runway braking action was poor and they couldn't land under that situation. So I was following this on Flight Tracker, and I will in another email text you the screenshots I took of this whole scenario because it was quite interesting. Went around the holding pattern once, and he said, all right, braking action is fair. We can land on that. And on we go. And that holding pattern was so smooth, the entries, that I could once in a while feel, yeah, we're turning, but didn't have a sense of it. And of course, it was after dark, and there was no outside visual reference. Made an approach to the north on one of the east runways, and looking out the window, and occasionally I could see some lights, and usually not. And then suddenly a power increase and a pitch up, and I sang your song, oh, you can always go around, that's what we're doing. And then he made the PA and said the braking action was poor on that runway. Another runway had been de-iced, and we would go around to that other runway, and he said, don't worry, we have plenty of fuel. It'll take about 15 minutes to do this. He broke around to the east and then lined up with one again landing to the north on one of the west runways, and came in and just made one of the best landings we'd been in on an airliner. And that braking, when he hit the reverses and the brake, to me, that was good braking. Although once we left the runway, it was like 2 miles an hour, probably 5, on the taxi to the gate, taking it very, very slowly. And I'll send you a picture or two of what it looked like out the window. I took a screenshot of the weather at that point. It was 11 o'clock that Wednesday night, and it was 300.5. So I got to experience, I think, probably my first go-around as being a passenger in an airliner. And the whole flight was executed by the book. Good PAs, and I really appreciated, as my wife did. She's bragged about that pilot, keeping us informed of what we were doing and doing it so clearly. So we made it back to Colorado that Wednesday night after Christmas, found a hotel near the airport about midnight because we just weren't going to go anywhere in that blizzard, and then got home the next day. So with that's the and then Southwest has, as you know, said that they would reimburse people for their hotels and flights, and I submitted that bill to them last weekend, so we'll see if they pay up. Everybody that was involved in flight delays during that period of time got 25,000 award miles, which both my wife and I have received and booked. So we'll just see if they follow through, and I assume they will. I imagine they'll take a while to get any refunds, but I think they're doing the right thing for what they had to deal with. So that's the kind of the end of that saga, and I thought I'd give you an update. This is Vernon Tryon. What am I? Let's see. Former CFI, retired air traffic controller. No, it's usually the other way around. And if I can figure out how to shut this off, that's the end of my input. Bye now.
Good luck with that.
I feel like he hasn't shut it off yet.
No, he's still going. Okay.
There it is.
As you said, it can always go around, especially when conditions aren't
When breaking action is poor.
Yeah, poor, that's no good. That's just barely better than nil. Can always go around. Again, refer to the Max Trescott Aviation Talk, News Talk podcast for Ken Dravis and how he came up with this absolutely amazing song, You Can Always Go Around. I have to apologize. Liz and I did not notice until we were listening to Vernon's audio feedback that he had sent us another email with all those other images. So we're going to have that in the show notes. So
because I was looking through, I was like, "There's no picture of."
Yeah.
He
sent it to our feedback, and which means that hopefully that you should be receiving that as well, Steph, and everybody else in the crew. If you send it to our feedback address,
it's probably.
I'm still trying to work out this this email debacle, but it's not feedback. Oh, maybe he sent it to me directly. Okay, let me check. Well, no, I'm looking at the feedback. Feedback. Feedback at airlinepilotguy.com is. Oh, well, I don't know why it didn't make it there, but it should have gotten everybody. Yesterday he sent it at 6:23 p.m. So thank you, Vernon, for that audio feedback. I always appreciate you taking the time to do that. I'm glad that it was a happy ending and that you got back on your United flight. It's a miracle that you didn't, crash and die on that 737 MAX. But, as you said, Southwest, they're a great airline, and I'm sure they'll follow through with the promises made to reimburse, reasonable costs for people. And, that's all. I think I heard in the news that this whole thing that they went through, about a week or two ago, was going to cost them like 800 and something million, getting close to almost $1 billion, which pretty much wipes out their entire profit, I think, from 2022.
Ouch.
But sounds like they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, but the way you earn that business back is to make it right.
Yeah. It's the way, it's not what happens, but how you react to it, right?
When he said they touched down and he thought the braking action was good and the thrust reversers came on until they left the runway, I thought he was going to say, like, they left the runway against the will of the pilots.
Well, you know what? It's definitely a possibility. And, and I was going to, thank you for mentioning that, Nick C., because there are, the way they prepare runways and clear them of ice and snow and contaminants, and, so you have a nice, safe, reasonably, friction-filled, spot to stop your airplane. They don't necessarily do that same kind of a treatment to taxiways. In fact, they hardly ever do.
Yeah.
So, and there have been so many incidents, and I'm sure we've talked about several of them on this show, where people go and they're turning off the runway, and as soon as they hit that taxiway, they just go sliding off and into the grass or whatever. And it's every time I'm operating in that kind of environment, I'm very, which is very unusual for me to taxi extremely slowly and deliberately. When it's these kind of slippery conditions, I really take my time, leave both engines running so that you have the ability to use reverse and, play tractor if you have to, with your reversers to keep the airplane going the right way and, keep from hitting things. And, Liz says, good thing Vernon wasn't on a Southwest flight because they're fast taxiers. But I bet even Southwest slows it down in those conditions.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because they operate into places like O'Hare and Midway. I mean, it gets pretty snowy, icy in the wintertime up there.
And it's hard enough finding the taxiways because they got all those sticks going up because all the taxiway lights are hidden by snow. Got some sticks up which might reflect off your taxi lights. It's really hard to know what's going on. All the signs you normally see identifying taxiways, they're all covered in snow, so you haven't a clue where you are.
I know. It's like, I don't know where we are, where we're going. Just hope for the best. But, one of the nice things in our modern world is the electronic flight bags and the moving map, and you can look at that taxi diagram and really, within a couple meters, know exactly where your airplane is, and it's such an enhancement to safety.
You youngsters with all your mod cons.
I know. Yeah, we youngsters. Yeah, right. Anyway, that's going to do it, I think. We're going to wrap this thing up by pointing you all over to our website, airlinepilotguy.com. That's a lot. You see, Nick C is pointing for you, so you don't have to. Let me see. I'm actually going to pull up the website so I can tell you exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at podcasts, APG on YouTube, which we're doing right now while we're recording the show live. APG crew, a little information about us, and Plane Tales, also a great place to go to learn more about more in-depth information about the plane tales that the old pilot does for us. Library, if you're into reading books, mostly aviation related, the APG library, and our librarian Tiffany manages that for us. Thank you, Tiffany. And up there in Buffalo, speaking of winter weather and snow, oh my gosh, I hope that she's still alive. Has anybody heard from her recently?
Yes.
Okay.
We heard from her after, I think, the most recent storm that they had.
Oh, good.
Or
good,
during
good.
it, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Information about the coffee fund, the APG store, ways to contact us, and of course the calendar for the APG community. So check it out, airlinepilotguy.com. And we're also on social media. And Steph, thank you for being back because you do this so well.
Who did social media duties while I was gone? I'm curious. Did you just skip over them altogether?
Mostly Captain Nick, but he does a pretty good job.
Okay. He's a fair stand-in. I bet he did great. Hey, the social medias, that would be places like, that's the email address, feedback@airlinepilotguy.com.
Well, we're a social media feedback address.
I almost said you can head to feedback.com. You cannot head
But Steph,
there.
you should
That's
know
not a
this
thing.
by now. You don't need those little.
I'm a little
those
out of
cheats.
practice. I'm a little rusty. I don't know, but it is like riding a bicycle. We'll get right back on that horse here. So we'll mix all the metaphors. You can head to Facebook. It's facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. Also Twitter. We are at APG Crew with individual Twitter handles pinned to the top of that page. And APG Crew on Instagram. There's pictures and Nick's artwork, and probably hasn't been updated in about 5 years, but
No, updated daily.
Daily.
I'm on there lots.
Oh, okay. Nick is making it not neglected.
Well, at least weekly with the artwork.
Perfect. So if you're
Nice.
missing out on seeing the artwork, that's where you can find it. And if you really want to chat with some folks who are into the community and want to do more in-depth things, that would be Slack is where you'd like to look.
That would be Slack. And let's see if Hillel is with us. Oh yeah, I hear the shower. It's the shower. Hillel, Slack.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. We're used to it. Come on over here. Tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Well, thank you very much, Hillel, for telling us all about Slack.
You've got to try these towels.
They're my towels.
They were new at the apartment, the new place, or no?
Yeah, I bought some new towels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because how I have this design kind of thing and decorating, and it's my thing.
If I were you, I'd buy some more.
I will.
A separate set. Keep them hidden.
I'll buy some new ones. Yes, for sure. But we do appreciate Hillel's management of the Slack team. And finally, we'd also like to thank our producer, Liz. Come on in. Liz, come on. There you go. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do in the background. And while we're doing the show, she is very active in commentary while we're doing the show.
And singing.
And singing and all of that stuff. But mostly all the work that she does in preparation for the show is just amazing. So thank you very much, Liz.
You're welcome.
And until next time, wishing you all clear skies and limited visibility and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Poppy.
Nailed
That worked really well. Nailed it.
There.
There were no big awkward pauses or anything.
No, it was very smooth. Very
Yeah.
Almost like we've done this before.
Turn off your recorders.
I never started
Oh.
mine. Hopefully you don't need it.
No, I don't think you will.
I never restarted mine after my computer.
So I can't wait. Nick says he's already got a title. What are you doing, Nick? Wait, are you going to surprise us?
Well, I could, but I'm going to call it I Dress My Props. So I...
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Are you going to?
I'll be interested to find out how you dress your props.
I need a picture, a nose-on picture of an airplane with a three-bladed prop that is orientated like a Mercedes car sign.
Oh.
That's what I need. Whether I can get one or not, I don't know.
Like the Mercedes thing on the big chain, I think.
No, like on a car.
Well, like
I
on
know,
the car, on
but-
the front, on
Big
the
chain?
bonnet. Yes.
They
Yeah,
have
like
one
the
too.
people that wear the Mercedes, the rappers,
just-
that wear the...
That's just the orientation of the prop. What I need is the picture of the airplane with a three-bladed prop.
Okay. I thought you were going somewhere
Nick,
else.
C-47s have three-bladed props, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Got one head. How do you dress your props? Do you have the two at the bottom, one at the top?
Yes.
Do you have pictures?
Sounds very
Well,
confident.
we changed. When I started working on the airplane, we did a Y. But when you put it in a Y, you can't see the inlets of the carburetors. So we actually switched to setting it up as a Mercedes sign because then you can see the carburetor. I'll look at what I've got.
Yeah, I need a high quality. It would work with one of those high quality picture, nose on, where I can see both sets of props.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
That would be one option instead of having to search through the internet for something else. Thanks.
Sounds good.
I was thinking our 182's got 2. The Caravan has 4. The Twin Otter has 3.
No, I need 3.
The Twin Otter has 3.
How can I put a dress on a prop with 4 blades? That doesn't work, does it? And I need a picture of a bonnet and some lipstick and yeah.
Well, thanks.
And a copy of the Lumberjack song. Got it. Okay.
Something like that.
And some silk stockings, fishnet actually, and
there you go.
There you
go.
Thanks for being in the chat room, everybody.
Yes, thank
Good
you
luck.
so much. Sorry we didn't take any of your suggestions for show
No,
titles.
Nick went rogue on his own.
cover
there.
art.
He did.
Yeah.
It
Let's have a
happens
look. I'm
occasionally.
looking at these suggestions. I don't see any.
I had NOTAM's Strike Again or Strike Back.
Yeah.
And Whistle
I
Stop
thought of that
Tours.
too. What?
Whistle Stop
What was
Tours.
the last one?
Oh, yeah.
Whistle Stop Tours, and I had the corrupted file show.
Oh, yeah.
No, you see, I've got an image. I have to find an image.
Oh,
Not a...
the burning cactus. Also, we had the burning cactus.
Oh, we did. Yeah, I suppose I could have done Baby Jesus beneath the burning cactus, but
Not
Oh,
Speedy
God.
Gonzalez.
Don't go
No,
there.
it's-
No.
it's Moses.
that's probably best if we
Jesus.
Well, you know
if
what
we
we
can that idea.
We could have said the insult show.
Nick the Biblical Scholar.
Yeah. The insult
as
show. Yeah. Or-
There used to be a fantastic sitcom in the UK. You probably went and seen it, called "Drop the Dead Donkey,"
Definitely
which
haven't
is
seen it.
exactly what that makes me think of.
Huh.
NOTAM fantasies.
Okay, everybody, we're going to end the broadcast now.
Good night.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, cheers,
Whatever.
everyone. Lovely to see you all in the chat room. All the best.
Adios.